We could start. I mean, for the beginning, we maybe could do a short, say who you are and how you got into motorsport and what you do at the moment, so that the chat knows you a bit better.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like a whole Wikipedia mini session.
Yes, the extra long
I
one.
mean, yeah, I honestly got to. I mean, motorsport itself, it was like, our fathers were all in Poland watching Formula One because Robert Kubica was racing. Still those times. So my father was just sitting on Sunday every day, just watching Formula One. And I was like, looking, I was like thinking, how the heck does he find the cars going in circles so fun? That was my first thought when I was a kid. But then I honestly liked it, like really, really liked it. Formula One mostly. And then, like when you watch Formula One, all of this other racing series are, connected. And then there were some MotoGP guys on the race. Mostly, I think it was Mark Marquez. So I just started watching MotoGP. Honestly, I found it super fun. I still think especially in Formula One, when there are some races when there's like a train of cars and they can't overtake each other, there is no way that in MotoGP there's gonna be crashes,
Yep.
overtakes, drama, generally everything you can imagine for motorsport. Um, but to write in, I got honestly around the time I met you, because Daniel wrote me an email asking if I would like to write for Races Behind the Helmet because he's seen that I am interested. I had a project about women in sports, speaking English, of course. And to be honest, I was like, do I have something better to do? No, it's middle of the pandemic. No way. On that, also, then I started writing, with you and with Daniel, and then because it is, as you know, all about Races Behind the Helmet. It's about female racers in motorsport. But of course, I also kind of wanted to cover the whole MotoGP. So there was a Polish site that I'm writing for now. I sent, I think, one article to them. They liked it. They published it, and that's how the story began. Of me writing like every MotoGP weekend and World Superbikes, and now I'm going to World Superbikes for the second time next week to Misano.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and like I was doing plenty of other stuff in the meanwhile. Like I had some, printed articles in a magazine in Poland. I did some podcast. I was already on Superbikes in Czech Republic, which was cool, pretty cool. I mean, I was 17 years old. Everyone, when they heard that, it was their favorite topic in the media center was my age for like 2 whole days. After they found out I was working with Tommy Gorali, she's a commentator from Israel, and we're talking, and we are talking about having a driver license. How
Difficult.
yeah, how it's kind of easier to have it, but it's also irritating to do it. And she was like, "How old are you actually?" And she was so sure that I was like 24 or 23 after, like a bachelor degree or something. And I said, "Oh, I'm 17." And like for the whole paddock, it was Friday's evening. It was still many people in the paddock. I mean, there was like the riders from the lower category passing us, and she's like, you're 17 years old." And then every press officer, I think, in a press center just knew. And I was like, this has to be fun.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember we really before we wrote you. I think yeah, it was before Dan wrote you. So, what do you think how old she is? I swear, I have no idea. I can't say. Just write her and ask if she want to join. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I remember this topic, to be honest, that we talked about. What do you think how old she is?
It's always like that, I think, honestly. Because I think people just, maybe I don't also look like super young or super old, but I think people does not expect, like, it's like normal for riders to be 15, 16, 17, but for journalists, I think that everyone is like, what?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
this is pretty surprising.
yeah. But I mean, it's not the age. So when you do a great job, doesn't matter. So
I mean, I hope I do a great job.
I think so. So I mean, the English stuff I read, oh, definitely. The Polish stuff, well, difficult to read for me. I think
Yeah,
there
I
are.
know. Polish stuff is problematic.
Yeah, at least when you don't speak or can read Polish. So.
Yeah, but I'm always trying to do some stuff in English. I mean, now I kinda in my podcast I kinda switch to also making it episodes in English just to see how it's gonna go.
Yeah, I saw the last episode. I haven't listened to it still, but I saw that you have the English version out of it as well. So
Yeah, because I decided to do like two series in Polish and in English about female racers in motorcycling because they are not really known,
yeah,
like almost not at all. I mean, I wrote an article for Polish magazine in March, especially for Women's Day, and then I was like, it would be cool to do actually a whole series in podcast. And maybe not to do it too long. That's why I think the episode is like around 7 minutes, but just to introduce them. And the first one, if someone's interested, the first one is about Beryl Swain. And she was the first woman to ride an Isle of Man TT. It is a race that's been around since 1907, so more than 100 years. It's older than Le Mans and all of the series. And generally, it's like they are racing on the course that is like 13 kilometers and it's on streets. So it's like, there are no barriers. The barrier is the fence, the tree. This is a very dangerous race,
yes,
but it's been around for more than 100 years. So,
tradition. It's tradition. It's
yeah, that's
dangerous, but
tradition.
it's tradition.
Yeah, that's completely a tradition. And I think that even if they wanted to, they wouldn't take it away.
Yeah, at least no really really bad stuff. But bad stuff happened. They will continue with this. I think so.
Yeah,
Especially
I
when
mean,
it's
it
that old.
starts on Monday, and it was like, it actually started because I think there was something like that in the Great Britain, like, Liverpool and stuff, they banned some speeds. I mean, they little speeds, and people want to try out their motorcycles. So they just went to this Isle of Man when there were no speed limits, and they just went around.
Yeah. Bagu says I wouldn't even do Isle of Man on a moped.
Honestly, you have to have balls to even watch it.
Yeah, it's crazy to see this. It's wow.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy, but it's entertaining. Just like I think standing next to the track site or any formula, like just on a track, you're just standing next to the fans and someone just going over you like riding 200 miles an hour. Like,
That's so crazy. Yes, it doesn't matter if it's cars or motorbikes. It's crazy to see them so close when you're on the fence going next to you. It's yeah. I was at the Red Bull Ring for the Formula 4 Italy race. I was on the Marshall points, and it was really close to see the cars driving. Past you.
like this is the moment when you're like, oh, I love it, I love it.
Yes, and so I could touch them. They were so close.
Yeah,
Of course,
I
you
have the
didn't do
same.
it, but they were so
Yeah,
close.
it would be a really letting you intrusive thoughts win.
Yes.
But it wouldn't be a good idea. But when I was standing on a pit wall in Czech Republic for superbikes, I mean, for every like the highest category, I had to be in media center to ride. But for the lower, I snacked on the pit wall. Then
Yeah.
they said that theoretically they couldn't let journalists there, but honestly, I couldn't really understand what they meant because they let some through, they didn't let through, so I didn't know what they meant. But okay. But for 10 minutes, I managed to be there doing the practice. It was so satisfying to see them just going next to the wall, when
Yeah.
you're standing. But honestly, also kind of just for like, okay, I can't quite place that I am really here because this is something you've been watching on the TV or some streams and everything, and then you are just there. This guy's just flying next to you, and you're like, what am I doing here?
Yeah. And it looks so slow on the TV, but when you see them in real life driving by, it's crazy. So, but it's cool. I mean, I was never on a motorbike race so far, but we will see what the future has in store.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I think Germany has a MotoGP. It's like in Sachsenring.
Yeah, I was already there, so maybe
Huh?
maybe one day for the MotoGP as well. But yeah, I'm more the car girl.
Yeah, I know.
But nevertheless, I watched it several years, so I could go back someday, maybe. Hi, Linda. Welcome in. We haven't had the one question so far, so you're safe. We have one question we always ask, so be prepared.
Okay.
Not sure where we asked it, but it will come. It will come. I'm not sure what's about this question, but do it. Tank, welcome in. Should I really ask the question now? Now and not later? Run away. Do it.
Yeah, sorry, I was just checking the chat. I sometimes just, go there. Because as I said, there's like in a stream, I should have a chat here, but I don't know why there's still some privacy stuff that I can't accept, and like, I have to go to another window to check the chat.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's okay. I'm here to read the chat otherwise, so it's all fine. They just saying hi to each other at the moment, so.
So that's okay. Hi, everyone.
But to come back to the question of the questions. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
I will say because I know many Italians. I'm friends with Italians, so I'm saying no because otherwise they would kill me.
Yes, I see Dan in the chat, so I think you survive now.
No, honestly, I never was a fan of the taste. If someone likes it, okay, but generally, I know that my Italian colleagues would generally put me in a coffin alive if I said yes. So
Yeah. So just to be clear, it's 3-1 no pineapple on pizza.
that's good.
Yes. I'm not
Yeah,
sure who the one was with saying
yes.
pineapple on pizza. Was it Zebra or was it Laura? I'm not sure. I just need to write it down so that I know it next time. On pizza. Because we ask this question every time and it's always fun.
I mean, definitely, it's like it's like a war of humanity.
Yes.
Like pineapple pizza or not. It's like all these rules when you go to Italy. That was like, I know that I shouldn't order a cappuccino after 12 p.m. Even though I freaking like cappuccino, but I don't know why we can't drink it after 12 p.m. I mean, okay, I don't want to get on anyone's bedside.
Yeah, sometimes you just respect stuff. That's normal.
Yeah, especially that I'm gonna hang out mostly with my Italian colleague. So I think I'm gonna keep respecting the Italian food traditions.
Yeah, play the game.
Exactly.
Oh, it's so cool. And Linda, don't be sad. It's more pineapple for you. So.
Yeah, exactly. The more people will say no, to pineapple on pizza, they don't eat it. I mean, it's all for you.
Right. But my chat is really divided into yes and no for pineapple pizza. But yeah.
Yeah, or like it's like when you ask someone if they break the pasta for the spaghetti.
Yes. Oh
yeah,
yes.
when they're cooking it.
Honestly, I do this sometimes. I'm so sorry. Which question we had last? I think ketchup on noodles, yes or no? Or on pasta.
I don't know. I don't really eat noodles too much, so like
Yeah.
there's no question. I'm just like out of it. But for pasta, it happened to me as well. Especially that I think in Poland it's like they don't care if they break the pasta or not. They just do it if there is suitable. So I always watch people breaking pasta, and then I saw some of my Italian colleagues reacting to the video that if someone's breaking pasta, and they were like absolutely horrified.
Yeah. But then is writing I break the pasta as well. So we have at least one Italian guy breaking the pasta. So it's not too bad when I do this as well. Hi.
Yeah, we have an Italian who breaks the pasta.
Yes.
Oh my god, I never thought I'm gonna live up to this moment.
I survived. I still can write for the project. Oh, great. Italian traitor. Great. I see first questions in chat. So, do you travel to all the Moto events? I think MotoGP events it should be.
No, unfortunately, I don't travel to all the moto events because I think you're gonna all relate to that. When you are from a country where motorsport is not that, on top, especially motorbikes. Motorbikes are on top in Italy, in Spain. Sometimes it's good because you can do it even though you are just beginner. But the disadvantage is that it's hard to get into a place when they actually pay you for what you're doing. So honestly, the most stuff I do now is kind of volunteered, even though I'm one of the three people that actually goes to the races on international level from here. But yeah, they don't pay me for that, so I go from my own pocket, mostly using the fact that my family wants to go to vacation, for example, in Italy. So I'm using that and just we go in together. They go when they want. I go there, which is pretty funny because they go into like Bologna or something, and I'll be there. But it's like a reward for me. And then I come back with all the stuff like the interviews. Now I have 3 interviews booked, so I'm coming back with it. I would love to do it professionally, but I still have time. As we said, I'm 18 years old now. I hope that someday someone will be nice enough to pay me for that, or I get to work in a team. And to be honest, I mean, maybe some people don't know it. In MotoGP, I never been to MotoGP because there is one stupid rule set in by Idorna in MotoGP that when you are in an online website, you have to pay like 400, 500 euros per accreditation for an event. So when you are, for example, from Poland, when we don't have euros, and 1 euro is like more than 4 zlotys, so you have to multiply by four. It's becoming like a whole hotel price.
Yeah,
So I always let it go. But in superbikes, no, it's a normal accreditation like everyone gets for free. And it's honestly, I recommend you going to World Superbikes because this is a great experience for the fans. With every ticket you have, you can go to the paddock.
that's so cool. Yeah,
Yeah, and you can meet the riders. Everyone's super chill. Like everyone's living with each other in peace. No one's running after these riders like they're superstars or something. This is like a whole championship level. It's level of MotoGP and like Formula One, but it's really friendly environment.
yeah. I love to go to these series more because it's so chill and you can just talk with the people and enjoy it and see. I mean, for families especially, you can see the cars and how they work on the cars and all the people and drivers, and so that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's always like the series that are not Formula One and the rest. They're honestly a really good place to begin or to go sometimes to the races because they're more friendly, they're more open than Formula One that is like pinnacle of motorsport. And they're a good place to also set love for someone to go into the races, and they are affordable. That's I think the most question because I've seen now that the Formula One tickets are really rose. The prices are I've heard the prices are awful. In MotoGP, I think they're also a little higher, but they've always been more affordable. Uh, for people, World Superbikes are even more affordable, and you have paddock access, which is
Yeah.
really good. And as you said, it's really friendly, honestly. Even though there are fans and they're asking for pictures, everyone's really nice to each other. Everyone talks like a family. And I remember a situation when I was just walking in Czech Republic, and I've bumped into Iker Lecuona. He's a Honda rider. He was also in MotoGP for a few years. And there were some girls just taking a photo with him, and then he saw me. He said hi. I think we talked for like almost 10 minutes about the track. So it was just like super chill and normal. But when you feel like, wow, this is the guys you see on TV, and this is honestly so chill normally.
Yeah, that's the cool experience you want to have, and I think that's getting people more into it, especially when you have maybe kids with you or so, and they see, oh, that's so cool. They are so normal and doing crazy stuff on track, and I want to do this as well. Or I don't know, want to be a fan of this or so. That's cool. As then in
Yeah.
Formula One, you have to stay away. You need to wait if you can talk with someone or not. So yeah, I think that's cool. So Tank want to know, what is your favorite track?
Wow. Honestly, I think, to be honest, when you are watching a few series, it's always like you kind of want to divide the track by the series, if you know what I mean. So, for example, for Formula One, I watched Formula One. I've always loved Brazil. because the Brazil is always like connected to me for the fun races that are unpredictable and the crazy stuff is going on there, and I love crazy races. So if it's about F1 and mostly car tracks, it's definitely Brazil in Sao Paulo. But for MotoGP, damn. This is a really hard question. I think you know that when you ask that and you're like 20 plus tracks in the calendar.
Yeah.
But for MotoGP, I really like Mugello because it's also for Formula One, you know it. But for MotoGP, I really like Mugello because this is a really crazy track. This is super fast. The speeds are going to 350 kilometers per hour. I absolutely love it. And so I think these are my top two, and I'm always sad that Mugello is not in World Superbikes calendar. There are other tracks, but they would be really cool to see.
That's for sure. And I mean, sometimes it just change. So I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes it changed. Like you're thinking, like, okay, they changed the surface. It's not the same racing as before.
Yeah, or when they get starting to remove the gravel and just put the tarmac there or whatever. So yeah,
Yeah,
racing can change. So, but I mean, I think normally this "what's your favorite" is so difficult questions mostly. So
yeah. It's always like I also, I've had people asking me, for example, who's my favorite rider, and like, I can't really say that because I want to really stay objective as much as I can. Because it'd be kind of weird. I mean, if someone asks me, for example, about what was your favorite rider as a child, then I'm not hiding around because this is the truth. That, for example, for me, it was Mark Marquez who got me into MotoGP and motorcycle races in general. But when if someone asks me, for example, now, I'm not gonna say it, in the word.
yeah, but I mean it's normal. So I mean, when you're a journalist, more or less, you don't want to have your favorite kid or whatever. So you of course want to be oh, I don't know the English word. Not too much involved to say something better about someone
Yeah, like
and
bias.
yeah. So I kind of think that's the best answer you can have on such questions. So
Yeah, it's always, I am a journalist, I should cover everyone with the same approach.
yeah,
And of course, I'm a person, so they're gonna be riders that I'm gonna kind of, like the racing style more, or I know them in real life, and then
yeah,
I know. But it's not really my business, so I'm taking care of racing and how they did in a race, and that's what should I write.
right. And you're one time the journalist and one time maybe the fan, and then you can have a favorite, but you don't need to tell everyone that's your
Yeah,
favorite.
exactly. Like for example, if sometimes you watch and I'm watching, like I'm watching Formula One or anything else, I don't have to tell anyone who I'm screaming for to go forward. Sometimes,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's like my little secret. And my family was like, "Why are you screaming so much?" Sometimes, like, try to watch this race.
Ah, that's great. I love this. So yeah, I mean, I'm a bit different. I mostly say who my favorites are, but as I not writing about them because it's their drivers, I think that's okay. So, mm, wait, this question. I have some questions from Discord and Instagram still. When the
Oh,
chat not have anything at the moment, so what I have. Mm, I think you more or less answered this, but when you consider the motorcycle itself, do you like the MotoGP or the Superbike more?
uh, it's like when I consider starting in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think kind of answered that when I said that I got into MotoGP first. So yeah, I like MotoGP first. Mostly, it was the first race I've been to was MotoGP. It was in Austria. But kind of when you're watching MotoGP, there's always Superbike next to it. I quickly started watch Superbikes, and it's honestly really interesting that 3 races a week. This is kind of a crazy experience. So these two are both so amazing, and I think if everyone watches, motorbikes and wants to get into it, you gotta watch both, and they're both great, and you're gonna be so excited for what's going on every weekend.
Yeah, and motorbike races are always entertaining. I think I can't remember one that wasn't entertaining at all. So There's so
Yeah,
much
they're
happening all
always
the
like
time.
there's always some drama. Maybe it's not sometimes like they're mostly overtaking each other every corner. It happens a lot, especially in World Superbikes. It's like you're watching. There's one rider, top records get he's in front. Next corner it's Jonathan Ray in front, and next corner it's another is again top in front. And it mostly looks like, or honestly, it happens pretty rarely. But there are some dramas, some fights. Like I think it was 2 weeks ago or three at MotoGP that the two guys went into each other. I think it was considered as a racing incident, but they're so pissed that they start throwing hands.
Yeah, I
It
think.
was honestly, it was like a vibe of Bottas and Russell at Imola a few years ago when I think it was George who patted Valtteri quite
Yep,
hard on the helmet.
yep,
It had this vibe.
yep. I remember this.
I was like, oh god, what happened?
Yep. Well.
And then we didn't have Imola this year.
Yep. Crazy stories all the time. Um, has there been any rule change that you not like or agree with?
Hmm. Any rule change? Damn. I mean, there's been some in MotoGP. There's been some drama with the stewards, uh, because they've been starting to really intervene into racing, kind of like in Formula One, too much for everyone's liking, like punishing the guys, even though it was like a strictly racing, hard racing, but racing and racing incident. And they've been talking how they want to make it unspoken rule that every time you touch someone when you are overtaking them, you're just going to a corner and you touch them, they're a little go a little upright. And they want you to drop a position or something like that. And everyone's like, okay, but sometimes it's just like a normal racing incident. So why should they always drop a position? That kind of ruins the whole thing, Especially when you have Mark Marquez, who this guy always races hard and he doesn't give anything. So it's kind of sad, especially that the chief steward is a former MotoGP rider from the 80s, and everyone's like, man, come on.
They should know how it.
Yeah, he should know, especially that there is a photo of him going completely off the track in the 80s fighting for a position. So I think he should know, but I think, people change. Fortunately, there is no unspoken rules like that in World Superbikes, and I hope they're not gonna be. I'm just hoping that they let the guys race.
Yeah. And I mean, a bit of tattooing is normal, so when they battle hard, so.
Yeah, it's like if there wouldn't be any touching, they would be really racing because it's like you're afraid that for touching someone, going for the move, you're gonna get penalized, and you're like, okay, do I want to go and risk getting penalized or not?
Yeah, I stay behind and see. Yeah, yeah, that's not how the race is improved or racing will be improved. So difficult call, would I say? So
Yeah.
yeah. What do you think of top rocks? I have no idea how to pronounce names, by the way. Move to BMW.
Felt that coming kind of. So it's Toprak, right? He's a Turkish rider. He's a champion from 2021 in World Superbikes, and it was just announced that he kind of left Yamaha, but not the team, the whole concern, at the same time, and he moved to BMW, which is like for now it's not a really top team. It's a manufacturer, but not a top team. Uh, I honestly think it's hard to say. I think he needed a change of pace, especially when he was sure he's not gonna go to MotoGP because there was some speculations like that. I am curious to see how he's gonna do in BMW in terms of using his experience and his riding style to develop in this bike. So maybe BMW could go really higher in the standings because now they're quite fighting. Sometimes they are there and they are fighting with Yamaha and Kawasaki, but sometimes they are down and they are fighting with Honda, who is middle. He's a middle group, and with another BMW team, a private team. Uh, so it's really hard to say. It's kind of risky, and I'm sure the money played the part because BMW puts everything in their motorbike inward SBK project, and that's why they're not even going into MotoGP. They're completely focused on World Superbikes, so I'm sure the money was one of the keys. But kind of curious to see how he's gonna do, and if it wasn't a really mistake, for example, of not moving to MotoGP when there was still a chance. But we have to say Yamaha is in big problems in MotoGP. I mean, World Superbikes probably as well. Kind of like Williams in the days. So we'll see. Maybe it's gonna go not extremely happy for him like Ducati, but it's gonna go better than staying at Yamaha.
Well, yeah, I have no idea, but okay. So, Patty, I hope you're
I
happy
can
with the answer.
compare it like staying with Ferrari right now in F1 and hoping that's gonna be better and better, or going to Aston Martin and developing the car with them and going higher with them. Like this year, Fernando and Lance are really
Yeah.
going hard with this bike. It's kind of similar, I think, that they are going to a team who's like Aston Martin from last year, developing, from someone like Ferrari who's just ruined the job. By the way,
Well, well, well.
well, we love Ferrari, but the strategy is just not it.
hmm Well,
This is not it.
is there a rider you find easier, friendlier to interview?
Oh, wow.
Interesting question.
I mean, of course, it's like uh, I haven't interviewed everyone, to be honest. I mean, I don't want to say everyone I interviewed because that would be like I'm choosing a favorite, definitely. But for me, closer to my age, for example, and it was Iker Lecuona. I think it was really easy for me to talk to him because he is really close to my age. Also, the thing of that he speaks English really well. This is another, I think, for us, an important thing that we always sometimes struggle with, especially when you talk to Italians, Spanish, and French. It's sometimes hard, probably. You're laughing, you probably know what I mean.
Yes.
Uh, but yeah, I think it's mostly because this is someone from the TV. He's close to your age, and he's just there. You have a really fun personality, But sometimes the factor of a language is really important because I had an interview with one of the Italian guys in MotoGP 3 weeks ago. He's great. He's super fun. It was super fun to talk to him. But every time, the fact that sometimes he couldn't understand my questions in English and we had to try to explain it to him, it always makes the interview more awkward.
hmm
Yeah, so this is this factor. But honestly, in World Superbikes, I can say everyone is super nice. They're always, if you are a respectful journalist asking respectful questions, they're gonna reward you with the same, and it's gonna be maybe a super nice interview. It's always been super nice. It always was easy to talk to them. Just some of the guys, like normal humans, are more friendly. They're just like joking more than the others. Some people are more serious. Some people are not. Iker Lecuona is one of those who likes to joke sometimes and laugh. So, for example, him.
Yeah. But I think that's normal. I mean, when you're respectful to others, they are respectful to you normally. So,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's always like when you're always trying to ask really special questions. Not, I'm trying not to repeat them, but also not trying to go over the line because you just have to respect everyone's privacy and everyone's, you know, just their life. So honestly, it's always like mostly. Sometimes happens. You just find a driver who's not in the mood. It
yeah,
can happen.
normal.
It
Yeah.
can happen, and this is most can be not your fault. But if you are honestly, if you are smiling, you're showing them that you want to be here. Then mostly every interview is really really fun.
Yeah.
Just some people are different. They are more serious in interviews. Some there likes to joke around with journalists about literally everything.
Yeah. And some are shy and are
Yeah,
happy when it's
exactly.
over.
Yeah, some are really shy before in the interview because sometimes they're afraid of their English level, just like we talked. So
Every
they're really
stream.
shy, and then you're thinking like this could be a really good interview if not the language barrier, for example.
Yeah.
But generally, I think I had really fun in all the interviews I've ever made. It was Italian, Pole, Spanish, or Northern Irish because I talked to Jonathan Ray. Jonathan Ray is just always, you can see it even on TV. He's just more serious in the interviews. Uh, I mean, when you talk to him off the record, he's more fun, but he's just serious. He's just a serious person, and you can see it on TV after the during the race after race interviews. But he's super nice person. So if you ever meet Johnny, he's gonna be great.
I'm not sure if this will ever happen, but when I will remember this. But yeah, I think I have similar experience with racing drivers and interviews. So, and sometimes you just need to see, okay, can I go now, or should I maybe leave them a bit alone for more than a half hour or so? So you just learn it, and I know this English barrier level. I mean, that's why I'm streaming in English, or I started streaming in English. So I always thinking, hopefully my English is good enough. Hopefully I don't miss all the words and stuff. But
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's like a both sides, you know. It's like people are really fun. They are always like, they used to journalists, they'll have media training, everything. But sometimes the language barrier, it's not also the fact that you both can speak. This is the fact of the levels. For example, I was laughing like this 3 weeks ago that maybe I'm just already using like too complicated words sometimes,
yeah.
or my accent is just too much. But this is the fact, probably that I had a lot of English training. I have certificates for universities, and it's like I got so used to speaking in English in that way and using these special words because for me, they are the way that I can ask the exact questions
Hmm.
without making it too long. And sometimes just it happens that someone just doesn't know that word because it's completely normal when you're speaking your second language. And then you're thinking, oh, this is a little awkward.
Yeah.
It's easier, for example, when I have a Spanish writer and I can sometimes, because my Spanish is like really bad, but I can understand and know some words. So I can try to explain it a little bit in Spanish, but I don't know Italian, for example. I don't know French. So then it's get complicated. I think it's kind of awkward sometimes even, but it just happened. Language is always a barrier, especially when you are just. It's always your second language.
Yeah.
It's not when you talk to like Jonathan Ray, who's Northern Irish. Then you can be only afraid of an accent.
Yes.
But honestly, his accent is really understandable for me. It's like a personal thing because I know my friends who are listening to accents from Australia and they're like, "Oh, I understand," and then the others come like, "What was that?"
Yeah.
So this is such a personal thing of understanding that sometimes it's funny how it can affect your view and interview because the people from the outside would say that this was super fun interview, like when it's like I show my friends recorded when they're checking if everything's all right for them, if the sound is okay for them, for example. And but for me it was a little awkward because I know that this question I cut in pieces so it looks good was repeated a few times in Italian by a press officer. Press officers are angels in that situations, especially if they speak the writer's language,
Yeah.
English, and some extra language. They're absolute angels. And she had, for example, the press officer had to repeat that a few times for them to understand and to talk. It was a little awkward, but from people from the outside, it's really fun.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that's a pretty normal thing. So you getting better in English every time you do stuff like this, but there's always words you're thinking, what the hell is this word in English or whatever? And
Yeah,
sometimes it's the easiest word you just don't know in English. And after you know the word, so why I'm so stupid. So,
exactly. I think it happened to me once when I had an interview with a writer, and because this writer knew me personally, we do it kind of privately. We just alerted the press officer, and she
mhm.
was like, oh, "Okay, sure, just I'm giving you his number. Just talk to each other." Then honestly, she gave me his email, but we talked on Instagram because we knew each other. So she was not there. It was like a private interview in December. She was not there, and his English is really good, even though he's Italian. And there was a situation like he didn't remember a simple word in English,
Mhm.
but he knew it in Italian. But honestly, from the context of the sentence, I managed to get that he meant atmosphere in
Mhm.
the team. It's sometimes you are able to do it, but if someone's not gonna understand the whole question, it's harder. So this is kind of fun, like everyone's really positively taken, this is just great. It's always great to interview someone. But you always, for example, if sometimes happen that they don't understand your question, it's always awkward a little, subconscious that or maybe I said it wrong, something like that, you know. But this is like a thing in every human, I think. So after a while, it just goes away, and you're like, that was pretty fun.
It is. I mean, when I think about how much worry I had at the beginning of this journalist stuff about my English and just talking now without really thinking about, it's so crazy. But yeah, it's so normal to just struggle with it. I mean, I even struggle with German sometimes, so it's kind of
I have the
normal
same
to.
thing. It's like you're saying something in German, like I am Polish, and then you want to, summarize something, and I think like this. There's a perfect word in English, one word that summarizes, and I sometimes just say something in English because when I think about saying it in Polish, it's like, God, this sounds so cringe.
Yeah, it is. And I, to be honest, motorsport words. So I normally say in English when I speak German because I don't know the German words sometimes because I'm so used to listen to English commentary and to write in English about motorsport and stuff. I don't know the German words anymore. So
Yeah, it was like when I was working with you mostly, and Daniel, you're working in English. Honestly, it was super scary for me to write my first things in English, and I know that Daniel was always checking on this, so thank you so much, man. And I know I get better, but it was like I started watching in English, watching the interviews in English sometimes with the MotoGP itself. Is of course they have their own interviews and something like that, and then I get to some technical words, and I know what is this thing. I know what it looks on the bike. I know why they use that, but what is the word in Polish that I needed for an article when I read in Polish? Like there was a testing, and Honda was doing new swing arms in the bike. It's
Mhm.
like the back of the bike next to the rear wheel. I was like, I had to Google it and see what's the name of it in Polish.
but that's
It's
so
like,
normal.
God, this sounds so cringe and so awkward. If I tell my dad, he's like, "What are you a journalist?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm functioning in English almost all the time."
Yeah. Can I use the English word maybe? It sounds not that weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or like there's something called an arm pump in motorcycle racing. It's like when you are racing, clenching your hand so hard on a steering wheel, it sometimes happens that you have a muscles problem in here,
Mhm.
and there get a lot of surgeries on that. Sometimes like a lifetime, or more. Every few seasons they need it. I think Fabio Quartararo, so a MotoGP World Champion, had like already three one place. It happens, but like it's an arm pump, and everyone calls it that. Even the Polish commentator calls it that. But when you are writing an article, you're thinking like, damn, but should I call it in a written language? Should I call it like that in a written language? So I think I start with the version that I write it in English, and then in the as an indicator I write that this is something like that, called in Polish like that, and some people just don't know what it is. So I'm just explaining sometimes what it is. But this is so awkward sometimes. I just want to call it in English and have it done, you know?
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. So that's yeah, definitely. German commentators also just call it anthem. Yeah, you know. So you're watching. I don't know when the last MotoGP or World Superbike race is that I watched. So
Honestly, maybe you should check out like the last race. It was the 1000th race, I think, of MotoGP in Le Mans, you know? It was like, that race was freaking crazy, to be honest. Every drama that could happen, happened.
sure.
Yeah, counting Mark Marquez crashing out of second position, 2 laps to go. This man is like, he said later that he would prefer to lose a race like that than finish in 10th position. So I'm like, this is Mark Marquez.
Sure. Happens
Yeah,
all the
so this
time.
is Mark Marquez.
Yeah, I read on Twitter some stuff about the race, so yeah. That's how
Yeah,
I get along with
this
it.
man is unhinged.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. But he's still racing, so he will ever come back to race.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. Like this happens. Just losing a race in a stupid way, I think, happens to many riders.
yeah, of course. I mean, motorbikes are something different than driving cars, so yeah, it's a bit more. I would not say it's totally more dangerous, but kind of. So
Yeah, kind of maybe. You know, it depends how you look at it. Because when you look at the protection of the driver and
Yeah,
of the rider, it's always different because you know the drivers. You can see even Google picture of Max and Lewis. There is the car around them. They have halo.
yeah.
They have a neck protector. For motorbikes, they don't have it because they have to be able to look around themselves because
Put
they don't have like this big ass mirrors, you know.
yeah.
And yeah, it can be considered more dangerous. And I think it's kind of more easy to make a mistake that you can't repair because sometimes if you spin around to the track in a car, you can just move around and you can go back to race and sometimes even get a good position.
Yeah.
But when you fall off the bike, mostly that's it because the bike's gonna take three big jumps and it's gonna be complete ashes. So you can just pick it up and go. But I think, for example, for motorbikes, it's easier to get a good starting position. You just start and you have a good start. You just flying through those guys, you know. And you can be from sixth position. You can be a leader in the corner. But for cars, it's kind of hard to do that.
Definitely. F1 drivers very rarely fall out of their cars. Yeah, could be maybe
Yeah.
weird when they would fall out of their cars.
Yeah, especially that they have seat belts
Yes.
and they have halo. So I think it would be hard. I mean, there was a situation I think when Charles Leclerc was driving for 2 laps without seat belts.
Yes.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know how did Ferrari did not get penalized for that still.
Same, but
Yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, I think then maybe if something happened, it would be possible if if he would swing around maybe. But yeah, they normally just stay in their car, and all the damage that is done in the car, not when they fall in the gravel, because sometimes it happens that the gravel is so hard, which drivers don't feel. For example, like in Portimao, they just don't feel it because if they crash in the car. But if the rider crashes, he crashes off the bike. He falls into that gravel, and it happened that one of the MotoGP riders, I think it was last season or 2 seasons ago, when he crashed in Portimao in one of the corners, he broke like 8 bones or more because the gravel was so hard and it was so hard to lay in that I think they had to replace it for the motorbike races later on, so it wouldn't cause that much damage.
Yeah. Kim, welcome in, and we had the question already, so I'm not sure if we should answer this again. So
Okay, I mean, I can kind of repeat it in a shorter way, at
yeah,
least that so she could Kim could hear. I mean, I think it's really hard to say if it's gonna be a good or bad move. Uh, I think this is a really interesting move, and I think he really wanted to do that to see a different stage of his career than in Yamaha. There's also worries that Yamaha won't be able to catch up to Ducati because Ducati is powerful in MotoGP. It's not totally powerful with Alvaro in World Superbikes, and maybe he thinks that he is able to develop BMW that way that they'll be able to fight with Kawasaki and the rest. I am curious to see that. I think the money was a factor as well. But I'm really curious. It's really hard to say for sure if it's gonna go good or bad. But therefore now, as we see BMW now with Scott Redding, it's a risk that it may go really bad for him. But I'm curious to see what he will be able to do with that bike. Just it's always like it's kind of hard to predict sometimes if it's gonna go for sure bad or good. For now, it's not looking really positively, but it's gonna be really interesting to see.
and at the end you have to wait what happens, so you can't say what the future brings. So I think it's kind of normal. You can say, yeah, it will be a perfect year, and then
Yeah, and then it's just not looking the way you want to. So
mm-hmm.
it's really, really hard to say. When you say this may be my year, the car last year was great, or the bike last year was great, and then it's just going spiraling down, and it's even worse than it was. It's always hard to predict in motorsport, just like there were changes of the engines and the regulations in F1. We knew there's going to be a big change in who's going to lead and who's going to be fast in F1. So it's kind of like that. When you're changing the manufacturer, it's always hard to say how it's gonna look like. But it's always interesting to see, for example, if the rider gonna be a factor that's gonna change it.
Yeah. Another question: what do you think of FEM Women's? Can't read anymore. Women's World Championship.
Yeah. I kind of felt it coming. Uh, I think I'm planning
Blame
also.
Dan. Blame Dan.
Then, yeah, I think I'm also planning on doing like a podcast episode on that in English. I want to ask even some guests, but we'll see about that because now I'm having quite hectic time. But yeah, to be honest, when I saw it, I was like, it's kind of exciting to see that there will be a series in motorbikes promoting women racing. You know, especially that it's supposed to be riding next to the superbikes, so it may be really interesting, but it's also worrying considering that we don't have any details. Uh, because if we had details, we could, comment it a little more. Like we knew, how many riders there's gonna be. They say that they want to have a one manufacturer, and it's like, but they don't. They didn't say what manufacturer is gonna provide all the bikes for all the women, how the team's gonna work and stuff. So it's hard to comment on that. But I I'm also not excited because of how W Series turned out in the end, and how it's now this F1 Academy, which I think is really good and good initiative, the F1 Academy. But the biggest mistake they could do, and the biggest mistake for everyone, is that that is not broadcasted live. That there's not on YouTube. That's not everywhere. The socials are kind of really low key. They don't see it a lot. So how can we be excited about and promote women racing when just they're not being shown? And also the fact that they think this Dorna guys said that that's gonna be like a series like what W series was, that it was like an academy. It was like a brought up to F1. They want to do it at final destinations, and it's kind of it may worry you that it's gonna turn into a whole new championship for only women. And they were saying that it's gonna be only 6 rounds, so they could also ride normally bikes and the world superbikes,
Mhm.
for example, as a contract with the rest of the guys. But if they gonna have a contract in this motorcycle championship, there is a big risk they're not gonna take them into the World Superbikes to ride with the guys. And I'm really afraid that someday it's gonna end up in a way that the women won't be invited to race in the normal with the guys. And we had Anna Carrasco who won a championship with the guys in World Superbikes, and she was the best of them. When we just put them in another series that it's supposed to be exactly a final destination, so like the only destination, it's kind of worrying. And the fact of having the same manufacturer, it would be much more interesting to plan it, not just do it in a hectic way for next season, to plan it. And for example, try to do it as in not a World Superbike level last final destination, but maybe something like a level of the medium class. So like a brought up, like a promotion,
Mhm.
and with the different teams, because if we had Kawasaki, if we had Yamaha, Ducati, putting their hands on it and promoting it, then I think it would be better than just a single manufacturer who I'm considering, and I'm thinking it's gonna be BMW, to be honest. But yeah, there's so many worrying things about, especially when you look how W Series turned out and kind of died, that it didn't give a. I'm sorry if I said wrong because I don't remember if Jamie Chadwick is 2 or 3 times
Three.
world.
Yeah.
3. Okay, thanks. 3 W Series champion, and it didn't really give her a seat in F2, in F3. She
Yeah.
was just racing and winning there because she was the best, and but it didn't really give her an opportunity in F1, what is supposed to do. So it's kind of worrying, but I'm gonna wait, of course, to finally judge. We're gonna wait for the results, for the and for the details, just because they didn't say almost anything. But I've seen other female journalists worrying about the same.
Yeah.
That it's gonna be like another series just only for women, then they're not gonna ride with the men, and just gonna turn out that they have to race in their own capabilities with only with each other because they can do it with men. We know they can, so it's kind of sad because it's always to see girls racing finally on some championship level, because we don't see that a lot, let's be honest.
Yep.
But for now, it's kind of worrying that how it's gonna turn out. But I'm really open to see it, and I'm hopeful that if it's gonna be there next year, I will be able to go to a round that has this also this championship round. I'm
Yep.
curious. I just hope it's not gonna turn out like W Series and give F1 Academy a broadcast, please.
Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, that you don't see anything about this. I mean, highlights on what was it, Monday or Wednesday after the race weekend? I have no idea.
Yeah, there are highlights. So this is the fact. There are highlights. There are GIFs. So it means they have cameras.
They have, yes.
They are recorded. So why they don't show it on YouTube? This is also one of the mistakes I think W Series made. They went into pay-per-view
Yeah,
format, like in Viaplay and the rest, too soon.
yeah. It was,
Especially that the first season of W Series was posted on YouTube later after the season ended, I think. It was then 4 races posted on YouTube. I think they should have gone for at least some seasons, going full on YouTube to get people interested because
yeah,
people, let's be honest, people, when they can, they like watching for free. Because watching motorsport is expensive.
yeah.
F1 is expensive. For example, in Poland, MotoGP is for free, but I guess it's not gonna be too long, to be honest, soon. But it's for free for now. I paid for World SBK as their own pass because it was better than Eurosport in Poland. And I am friends with the Eurosport commentator. I'm sorry, but it was cheaper.
Well,
Sorry. So yeah, I think the F1 Academy YouTube broadcast is what they would need it, or Twitch broadcast, because this is easily acceptable, and this makes it interesting, accessible for everyone, so they can get interested, even they see it sometimes when there is, for example, not F1 around.
yeah. And I mean, the thing is, when you have it on free on YouTube or Twitch or whatever you want to use, you first can build a community or fans getting interested in your stuff, and you also can earn money from it. I mean, you can advertise you or monetize your YouTube stuff or your Twitch stuff or whatever. I mean, it's not the word, of course, but it's something you maybe can grow with. So yeah, that's a problem many motorsport series do lately. I mean, WRC or I don't know, Rallycross, they do all the same mistake, more or less.
Yeah,
Just
I
going
think.
behind a paywall and we don't care.
Yeah, sometimes I'm afraid, like, that really, I understand the paywall. I understand that this is the biggest money they can get from the fans. But honestly, like, this little series do it too early.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think sometimes you just gotta invest in that series and promote the sponsors, for example, during that broadcast, that they can do it. Uh, because the people sometimes, especially sometimes, if something's cheap, then it's all right. People can survive. I think F1 TV is pretty accessible because it's not that expensive. For example, MotoGP pass is absolutely expensive. Just then I understand why people die. Why there's this free in Poland, because then it wouldn't hold the attention, because the MotoGP full year pass is absolutely expensive. What SBK is cheaper, but I just bought it on Black Friday. It was a good occasion. Okay, it was only 60 something euro for a whole year, so I was like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah, of course.
Uh, yeah, but it is expensive, and this is a mistake sometimes, especially in these times that they even brought up the prices of the tickets. And people, let's be honest, people have their own lives. Sometimes it happens that they cannot watch it. You take it away from them. And sometimes when they see that this is expensive, they don't want to even come back to it because they've learned how to live without watching it. Or they found streams, illegal streams, or they've learned how to live without it because it was too expensive.
Yeah,
So I think this is something people should be careful with.
that's why I will cancel my Sky subscription soon after the Indy 500 because it's way too
Yeah.
expensive for what I
There are
get.
even, like newspapers making the subscriptions to read the whole article sometimes.
Yes, terrible. And then, but you can't, in Germany mostly, you can't buy one article, you need the whole subscription for the whole
Yeah, for the
newspaper.
month.
And that's why I
I
can't
think
just buy the
Autosport
one
has it.
article. So,
Yeah, like I've seen in Poland, I think the Yeah, the Polish side, motorsport side, didn't do it. They, I mean, Autosport doesn't have a Polish version even, so they didn't do it. But there are some like a normal newspapers that did it. That you are opening the article, you see like the beginning, and there's that you have to pay and like a whole pass to read it the whole, and then you're like, I think I can do it without it.
Yeah, that's true. It's totally true. Yeah.
like they put in the access to informations after another paywall for information, you know.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of sad, but that's the world we live in. So, well.
Yeah.
So I need to start. Dan says he have a a thing or two to say about the F1 Academy, but will be time for another chat. I mean, then when you would talk about it online, we can do this. I'm not sure F1 Academy will love it, but who can do this?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you gotta call them out. I'm sorry. I mean, honestly, the stuff you sometimes know, guys, sometimes the stuff you know about F1 academics thanks to Daniel, who puts his energy to go there.
Yeah,
Yeah, and his money to go there. That's why. So, you gotta, I love Susie Wolf. I love Susie Wolf, okay? And the rest of the girls. I've been following Amna and Hamda for such a long time. But you gotta call it out because this is not looking good for it. I don't know how F1 fought through this, but I think they're gonna lose a lot of money as well.
yeah. And it's so stupid because they could do so much out of the stuff. They just need to do it, like broadcasting it live and stuff like this.
Yeah,
But
I'm just
it's
checking the chat and I think Daniel said that, hey, when you have a time something ready, you should totally have an opinion piece on this on the racers. I'm open it honestly, to totally write it on racers. I haven't written on races in a long time, I know, but I'm totally open to do that. And maybe after I go back from Misano because the internet stuff abroad it's quite expensive.
yeah.
So I'm just gonna be living on Wi-Fi in Misano.
Yeah, I know this feeling. I know this.
Yeah.
But I think that
Honestly, racetracks have really good Wi-Fi for journalists mostly.
mostly yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm living for it. Even in Most, which is not a big circuit, it's a small circuit, kind of in the middle of nowhere in Czech Republic. They had such a good Wi-Fi that I walked to garage of Honda, I think, and I still was catching Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Don't go to Denmark then because on their racetracks the Wi-Fi is well.
No comment on Wi-Fi in Denmark.
It's mostly not there. and when
Even
it's
in media
not
center.
and when it's then normally not really have a media center. That's the problem. They
Ah.
the last time at Paddock Park I was in a team tent.
In Team 10, I mean, at least in most, it's a small circuit, so they also don't have a media center like for many people. They just have offices for the officials, at least that. I mean, I got lost there accidentally, so one of the officials, I think she was watching the timers. She went tell me where to go. They at least gave us a tent, and they put this tent next to the barrier, so we could at least hear it.
Yeah.
I think in Misano the center is next to the track itself, so this have windows on the track, which is pretty cool.
I don't know. I think
But yeah,
then
sometimes it's just big white tent that just kills your eyes.
do you was in Misano so far? I don't know. I didn't know Italian tracks, but
I think she could have been because Misano it's like hosting F1 and stuff, but motorbikes and some cars like car series in Italy, so maybe he was there.
yeah.
I also see the question here. Got I think about Marcus, but
Yes,
it disappeared.
I just over jumped it so far. Yeah, there it is there.
Yeah, I don't see it now. I'm sorry, but because I have some problems with the chat, I don't know if you see it.
Do you think Marc Marquez is too dangerous to have in MotoGP? He have crashed a lot and said he would rather crash than finish fourth.
Honestly, I think people have been saying that he is sometimes dangerous and something. He is a rider who takes risk, and the fact is he's always been like that. And maybe people haven't stopped being used to it because he was injured for a long time, and he was riding differently because of that, because he couldn't ride like he always done it. But this was Marcus since he entered Moto3 in the 2000s, and he's always been like that. He is a risky rider. That's true. He says it himself that he knows he puts a lot of risk. He's the kind of an aggressive racer, but MotoGP was always a series with aggressive races, aggressive overtakes, especially when we had Jorge Lorenzo on track still, when we had Valentino Rossi on track in his best years. I don't think he's to be considered too dangerous. This is just Marquez that everyone knows. Sometimes the rider's just gonna get pissed at him awfully. Because this is just, but I think they're used to it, and I think even Alish Asperger, who said that he's sometimes really pissed at Mark because of what happens, he said that this is Mark we all knew. This is Mark is back in this state that we've seen him. So I don't think he's considered like too dangerous or that he doesn't care about the lives of the rest, because he for sure does. For the last few years led more about having his life and his functionality at stake than anyone else. But I think he's not gonna just throw away his racing spirit and what he was doing for years. Because now he's back. He's finally feels that he can race like he did before, and this is something you need to fight for a championship, especially when you're riding against a Ducati right now. You need to put risk. You need to ride really fast, and to go through the whole field if you have to, what he was able to do. So honestly, I think him saying that he prefers to finish like this than go in 10th shows that he really wants to, that he loves and wants to win, and he's ready to risk it, than just collect any points that are available, because this is a thing you need to when you're at the end of the championship, to collect points. He's racing to race and to win, so I think people can call him too dangerous, but he's still gonna do it.
Yeah, and you will always have such riders or drivers. Doesn't matter which
Yeah,
series you
but
watch.
sometimes, and you can say that they are really loved and admired. Like especially Marcus, who had 4 surgeries on his arm. He had went through diplopia, so the double vision he had from crashes 3 times in his lifetime already.
Yeah.
And this is something really unpleasant, because until it goes by, for a few months, for like I think he did for 4 months, he's seen double. So this is something really, it's really awful, and he overcome it to be here and to race like he did in Le Mans. So I think honestly, I really admire him for that. And he can be awful sometimes. He can be an absolute aggressive rider that you are just. I was just sitting on Sunday. I was like, oh god, in this bit he's gonna crash. You can sometimes just know he's gonna crash. But this is Mark Marquez we've known since he was in Moto 2 and then went to MotoGP, winning a championship his rookie year.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is just him, and he's aggressive, but this is the part of it, and he makes MotoGP such a great spectacle.
And he will not change. And I mean, he is, I think, the reason many, many, many people joined MotoGP as fans, maybe youth drivers, whatever. So he had a really, really big impact on the series
Yeah,
and on the
he's like
switch.
Valentino. He is the second known racer to Valentino, exactly. They've made it like in this 21st century, next to maybe Casey Stoner as well, who is a big star and he was fighting with Valentino.
My favorite, yeah.
I love Casey as well. I miss Casey.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've made it the whole spectacle. And without them, MotoGP wouldn't be that spectacle. And I think without Mark just joining his aggressive fingers in there, the race is always more interesting with him. And I know many people missed him, especially in 2020 when he just disappeared after that injury. And I've seen people saying, damn, this race would be much interesting if there was Mark Marquez in it. So honestly, yeah, he's dangerous, but without him, it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah, definitely. He definitely wrote the history of MotoGP with. So I'm not sure if I really understand your question, Kim, by the way. The last one. But could if have something to do with Marquez being older, so he makes more mistakes?
To be honest, I don't know if it's about his age. In particular, his age. He's not really that old. Valentino Rossi was racing until 40 something, and his mistakes were mostly because something happened or the bike was not it, but just mistakes happened. Uh, I don't think it's spectacularly about his age. I think it's about the fact that he's been out of his pace from 2019 when he was second on first in almost every race besides Austin when he crashed. This was the greatest season I've ever seen, I think, ever in my lifetime. Uh, I think this is the fact that he's just not used to riding for now as he used to, even though he had to come back to it physically. I think this is the case of him making more mistakes, and also the fact of Honda being Honda right now, which after Mark left, it just turned out that Honda has a horrible motorcycle that only Mark Marquez was able to ride, and he's still, I think, the only one who's able to ride it on a level. So the Honda bike, which has problems, and even Mark has problems with it, and I think his physical form is not as what is before. Of course, he got older. They all got older. This is not the same as riding against Jorge Martin, who's 21 or 22. He probably has much more fit energy because he also was racing in MotoGP for a shorter time than Mark. You know, the only few years comparing to Mark since 2013, and so many injuries later.
Yeah,
So yeah, maybe a little, but I think it's mostly to his injuries and Honda bike being Honda bike, like literally McLaren Honda in F1.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, Patty says also the margin of error gets smaller every year. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, maybe, especially when the bike is not as good as it could have been. The error from mistake is always, you know, it's always more crucial. So if you have a white mistake sometimes, it can compromise your whole race. Also, the fact that we've seen Mark Marquez saving crashes after his injury, but this is not the same when he was, he was almost laying on his side and he could push himself back on the bike when he was 70 degrees down almost. I'm afraid that with, especially with this right arm, he won't be able to do that anymore. That's why you will see him crashing more because he's looking for a limit
Yeah,
after coming back, and because of his arm, he can save as many crashes as he did before.
definitely. So I see two more questions. I mean the first one we more or less talked about, but I think Kim wasn't here. So, he saw on Twitter that you talked to Jonathan Ray. How is he? He seems as such a nice person if you don't meet him after a bad race.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think we talked about a little before, as I said about Johnny. Exactly, I was giving as an example. Johnny is a really nice person. He is just more serious. He's not as jokeable, for example, as Garrett Gerloff, the American racer, or even Iker Kuna. But he's a genuinely super nice person. He's super respectful. He always treats everyone the same. To be honest, of course, like every guy rider, sometimes it's better not to meet a rider after a bad race. After a bad races, I'm not even if I don't have interviews midweek. You know, it's normal that you don't have interviews midweek, mid race week. So you mostly rarely talk to them when they had a bad race. Sometimes they go to the debrief and you can say that a little angry. But I think it's also the fact that they are media trained and that they know this wasn't the journalist's fault sometimes. Sometimes I understand them being angry with the journalist because they really asked questions that could have been saved and we all know the unspoken answer to. But Johnny is super nice person. I really loved to him. He's just more serious than riders that are mostly jokeable. Like for example, Baldassari, who I saw racing on a scooter for the paddock with three other members on this one scooter of his team, which was pretty fun. And honestly, I think everyone just stopped and laughed at this view. He's just more serious, but he's super nice. He's always super kind and happy towards the fan because I've seen him when I was eating my dinner at the bar on the paddock. I've seen him stopping next to the fans who had a flag of Northern Ireland. They weren't looking for him. They were just sitting, I think, and eating fries quite next to me. He was going on a scooter next to them. He stopped. He talked to them. When they wanted pictures, he took pictures with them, but he stepped from his own wheel to just talk to them because he's seen this flag. He saw that they are his fans, and no one interviewed. No one of the any other fans were prying into it. This is kind of also what happens in World SBK general. When someone talks to the riders, there is no like pushing around to get to him. He's talking to them, so he's talking to them.
Yeah.
And so Johnny is absolutely a great person. I love him. And his whole team is amazing.
Yeah, I think that's answered the question definitely. Magoo want to know, what do you think about the look of the bikes these days with the aero stuff on them?
Uh, yeah. So, to be honest, I don't know if you ever seen the pictures because you're on Twitter, but there are some now discussions that they started add like a little wings at the end of the bike, just up for the rear wheel, and this is a big aerodynamic change. And honestly, I really loved bikes being about the speed of a engine, you know, and of the rider than about aerodynamics. I'm personally not. I understand them racing, for the aerodynamics to get the better view and to win, because now this it looks like it's needed to win, especially when Ducati has its own ideas about aerodynamics. But I really, really enjoyed MotoGP with that much aerodynamics, and it's also we all know that aerodynamics makes the speed, and this is more impactful on their drivers and riders. Like, I think that of course we know that F1 drivers in the many years ago they didn't have to train their necks as they have to do it today. So this is impactful on the riders as well, and I've mentioned before in the podcast, I don't know if you were already here, about the arm pumps. So there's muscle problems in your forearm that sometimes once even Fabio Quartararo was leading a race, he got an arm pump, so this big pain mid the race, and he fell to 15 positions because of that. And this is one of the things of course aerodynamics has an impact on that and change of the bikes. So I'm a big fan of this bikes we all know without too many aerodynamics. But also aerodynamics is a part of developing the bikes and developing the speed, so I don't think we can just I don't think banning that would make a really good cause, and I think this is just part of racing. It would happen someday. Even though I like the spikes without this too many wings, and there were people who made memes like they compare it to Pokemons.
Yeah.
Because these wings are from Pokemon. Uh, but this is just the way of racing. They're always gonna look into something to make it better. Like
Yeah.
in F1, always there's some new wings and everything. They want to do it rear wings. They want to do it better, and there's always gonna be like that, even if we sometimes don't like it.
Yeah, like Magoo said, I understand why they do it, but I think it looks stupid.
I understand. I completely agree with I completely agree with someone who was the first to compare it to the Pokemons.
Yeah, or the Stegosaurus tail. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yep.
see Kim saying that I also do love the fellow Ray and his team in his vlogs. Yes, I love riders making vlogs. To be honest, I don't know if you do like the drivers making vlogs. I love riders having their vlogs.
Yeah. That's
It's always cool to see the behind the scenes.
yes.
If you love the vlogs of Jonathan, see his back behind the scene. Check out the behind the scenes vlogs of Garrett Gerloff on his YouTube, because he's been doing since he switched from Yamaha to BMW. He now makes a vlog from every race weekend. The last one from Barcelona is already on. These are super fun because they show the team from the inside. For example, they have a bet that if his teammate's gonna overtake him, they're gonna shave his head into a mullet. Fortunately, it didn't happen because I'm really jealous about his curly hair routine because he has beautiful curls. He has a whole head of curls. I was like, oh my god, I'm so happy it didn't happen. But this is a stuff you sometimes see when you watch this vlog. So definitely, Garrett Carroll's vlogs are something to watch, and I'm planning on asking him for that if I'm gonna catch him on the track. So
Definitely
yeah,
do
I
this.
love it.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I mean, the stuff from today when you have vlogs and behind the scene stuff and just see how a race weekend works and oh, what happened between the races. I mean, it's so many stuff happening that the normal viewer mostly don't see. So that's kind of cool to see this and to yeah be a bit deeper with the drivers and yeah
Yeah, you feel more connected to
yeah
the team and to the drivers when you see that. I mean, there were some times that Mercedes was publishing behind the scenes videos. Sometimes I think it was mostly 2019 before the pandemic, but it was fun because after this famous Monaco race when Hamilton was driving on the same tires for 68 laps, they showed that they all knew they were waiting for him. They knew that he's gonna be pissed even though he won, and you're thinking like, yeah, he's gonna be pissed, but he's gonna be happy that he won. Hamilton stroked in, opened the champagne, and absolutely soaked his engineers who decided on that. He didn't care that there were laptops there. One of the engineers even fell from the chair to the ground. He just absolutely soaked them. He said, "That is for giving me medium tires for freaking 68 laps." And this is something you wouldn't see on TV, but you see it on this vlog, and you're like, "This is pretty fun." And you see the dynamic.
yeah that's the best thing you can have in vlogs. I mean, there are sometimes some out there you're thinking, well, don't need to, but the most are really
Yeah,
cool.
like
So
if you watch Word SBK, you should absolutely always check out the Word SBK's website because they have a series called Word SBK Unfiltered, and they record the talks between the riders. When they are coming to the podium, when they are before they talk to the media, when they are in the park ferme, when they are talking to the media in the debriefs. Like we are in the debriefs and we record their, what they say to put it in the article. But they recorded it because pretty fun stuff happened there. For example, when we were in Most, during the debriefs, they recorded how Toprak was swinging on a chair.
I saw this
One
in your
time,
stories, I think.
this man, and I was even on that video because they recorded that because Alvaro Bautista was speaking and he was doing that. He fell from that chair like 15 times during this whole debris, waiting for his turn, and you could see it in the unfiltered. Or like when Toprak came to Johnny, I think it was in Barcelona. I think it was in Assen. He was like, "Why didn't you attack me?" I was like, "I did." Johnny was like, "I don't know. It was risky. I didn't have a space, but I was waiting for you." For 10 laps I was waiting for you to attack me and you didn't attack me. Why you didn't attack me? This is something like that. Or Toprak offering Bautista that he's gonna break him baklava from Turkey because he's really small. Yeah, so I think this is always lovely to see because this is something different than seeing those guys only, they're racing, then they're on the podium, they're soaking each other in champagne and they'll disappear.
Yeah, and that's the real stuff happening, and that's what's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's the real life, like also behind the scenes, like
Yeah,
when you can call and you can say like I'm saying my stories that they did something. There was Bandazari racing on the scooter with three of his teammates on one scooter through the whole paddock. This is something you don't see, but it sometimes happens on the vlogs.
yeah. That's cool. I love this. So maybe I need to check out some more vlogs later.
Yeah, this is as we said in the beginning. It's like it's good to see that this series is good for the people. They're open.
Yeah, sure. Let's connect the fans with the sport and the drivers and the riders, and to be interested in the series in the first place and to stay focused on the series. So I think that's the way for maybe not for the future. It's already here, but to work more on stuff like this to get the yeah people interested.
Yeah, it's like for building a community,
Yeah, it's like
because
yeah.
yeah. Speak, please say what you wanted to say.
It's like as the pandemic started, as all the Formula One drivers started their Twitch channels and driving together on I don't know F1 iRacing whatever they did, and yeah, just get more and more fans involved, and they are so oh that's cool. I want to be more interested in the sport and in the drivers, and just yes, they connected with them. I think that's
Yeah,
a good example how it works today, or how it can work today.
yeah, exactly. I think this is so fun because it always give you I mean, I was as a fan as well, because when the streaming started, I wasn't even a journalist. I was just a fan of Formula One. I think I can say I was a fan around the time that Hamilton was in McLaren still. So quite a long time. And this is something that brings you closer to these people and makes them, make them even keep your fingers for them. And you are like, oh, this is so fun actually. And also, it was a big thing in the pandemic when people were close at homes. They were with the same people for 24 hours. And at the beginning, sometimes even me, I was talking with my friends on cameras, from Messenger and WhatsApp and the rest. But after sometimes you didn't know want to do that. So
Yeah.
watching these streams was a change of pace in living in the pandemic. And it was also like a glimpse of racing that we all missed for. Like, I think it was around March that the big lockdown happened, and the first racing began in July.
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
it was a big break.
Crazy times. Yeah. So crazy times.
Yeah.
And Kim, that's not a good idea because I will never bleach my hair. So, nope.
Bleaching your hair is risky.
Yeah, no, I'm afraid to bleach my hair. I don't want to do
I
this.
understand. Honestly, I have this hair. I colored them 3 days ago. Because for already a year I had red hair,
Hmm.
but honestly, I colored them this way only because I am naturally blonde. I am lightly blonde. I have light blonde with my natural hair, and that's why I could color my head red, which kind of suits me, without bleaching it. Because I had light hair, and they quickly cut up on red, and they are now I am not able to go back to blonde because they are so red.
Yeah.
But honestly, I understand you. If I had brown hair, I would be super afraid to bleach them.
Yeah, my hair is a little bit brighter than what it's now, so
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, no, I will never bleach it. For pink, I
Yeah,
really need to bleach it. I mean, red hair I had as well. That's working mostly. Depends on the color and what style it is. But no, I don't want to bleach it. I'm
yeah.
afraid. I'm
Bleaching it
afraid.
was yeah. I understand you completely. If I had to bleach, I also would. I think I would stop myself from doing that, or I would have to find a really, really good and trusted hairdresser to do that.
Yeah, and even then I'm afraid to be honest. So I,
Yeah, this
I
is risky because mistakes can happen, and you're like, God,
yes.
and that's why that's why I never color my hair with something unsure, before I'm going somewhere. Now I'm going to Misano. That's why I wanted to finally get rid of my outgrowths.
Yeah.
But this is their line, because I had to change the color because they did it. They stopped selling my other color, so I
Hmm.
choose another one. But this is similar, and this is the same line, so I knew it's gonna work.
Yeah. Yeah,
If
that
I
will
had
work.
to before an event, I would prefer to go with an outgrow. I'm afraid.
Definitely. It can so much happens. It's yeah. I mean it's just hair, but it's hair and it's
Yeah, it's kind of like this on TikTok, this hair theory that honestly the hair can change how you look that day. If you curl them, if you make them, if you give them volume or not, if they are freshly colored or they're natural, it always kind of change your image. It has a big impact of your image. So you're always kind of afraid for your hair.
yeah.
That's why people are so afraid to cut it.
Yeah, that's so true. And yeah, I just want to have long hair. I cut it last year, 2 years ago. I have no idea. It
Yeah.
was the first time I was thinking, wow, that was too short.
Like for a long time, I had a really short hair, but then I was like, I don't think as I grew, I didn't think it suited me anymore, because my when I was a kid and now my face really changed, and I was like, I don't think it suits me anymore. And also, I'm gonna tell you something funny. In Poland, when you are in the last grade, when you are close to graduating, there is like a superstition that after a prom, and a prom is normally at the end of January, you shouldn't move your hair. You shouldn't cut them. You shouldn't dye them. It's like, because I don't know. It's like a stupid superstition, but people are so scared. I was also scared about my final exams. So until my last final exam, I did nothing with them. Honestly, I didn't dye them. That's why I had such a big outgrow, and I had almost, my hair started coming down from red to red blonde, a little, like a fox.
Yeah.
And honestly, the first day after I finished my oral English exam, I went home. When I washed my hair, I called my mom because I had long hair, so I couldn't see the back. I was like, "We're cutting it. Let's do this." But I'm after my final exam. I don't have to believe in superstitions anymore. I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy what you do when you, yeah, when you,
When you're stressing about exams.
yes, definitely. I mean, it's a bit time ago for me, but I remember this time, so yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So you just try to get any lucky charm you can get to get through all the stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah. So Shed is discussing who will win tomorrow. It needs to be Pato.
I guess you're gonna say that, knowing you, that you would like when you would cut it to win.
Yeah. Maybe I don't know what I do when he wins, but
I see someone saying that Scott Redding also makes great vlogs now
yeah,
and then, and he rides his bike between races. Yeah, I've seen some of his videos. He sometimes do them. Yeah, this is really cool. When I said this is really cool when the drivers there, even not during the weekend, like their lives between the races, as you said that their lives between the races.
yeah,
This is also really interesting how they function. And I mean, we know that Scott Redding rides a lot of on his bike, like his normal cycling, cycling generally. I also, when I was in Boston, I was doing a track walk. He passed me like 5 times when he was cycling on first day. But yeah, I absolutely, as we said, we both love drivers and riders vlogs and doing something different in general than just being on track, talking to media, some fun duty. And like in what SBK it's paddock show, in F1 it's something similar, I think. And then going home to Monaco
yeah, definitely.
when, not, let's be honest, not many fans are in Monaco, and we know why.
Yeah, it's normal. Huh? It's like Miami wasn't that many fans.
Yeah, Miami, even it's like Miami and Monaco are not that many fans, but Miami is worse because Miami is more celebrities,
Oh yeah,
and it's not people living around because Monaco has its has its atmosphere.
yeah,
People are watching from their balconies, and there are normal Monaco citizens. There are people from Nice, that they can, for example, drive. There are some people who collect money for their whole life to go one time to Monaco, even. But let's be honest, Monaco is expensive, but it's historic, and not that I think America's celebrities focused as Miami. Because Miami was really, I know if you want to see in the paddock, it was really a lot typical celebrities.
yes. And all
Yeah,
the fake lakes and whatever there was. So what the hell?
yeah, and even
Why?
some TikTok influencers that I've seen people being worried about because they didn't even know what Formula One is exactly, and they were going. But when Monaco is about Monaco is a lot about sports people who
Yeah.
also watch SF1. There's even Fabio Quartararo from MotoGP now in Monaco. He's always in Monaco because he's originally from he's French.
Yep.
So Monaco has a different vibe. It's the money, 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 but it's different vibe than Miami.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there are so many people that live there actually, so it's
Yeah,
kind of different to Miami. Miami was really so, what the hell? Who are you? I
yeah.
don't know any
Monaco
one of
will see
you.
like, yeah, this is Monaco. This is millionaires coming to the marina
Yeah.
on the boats, and this is like David Beck. You see David Beckham, Fabio Quartararo, and the rest walking around,
Yes.
and yeah, this is Monaco. I would love to go to Monaco, but I think the only thing I would able to afford in Monaco would be a McDonald's.
Yeah, maybe. They have one. I'm not sure about.
Yeah.
um, was it Hockenheim 2019, and it turned out to be one of the greatest races ever. Did I miss something there before? Ah, yeah, I had the chance of going to Monza for free once, but I did not want to because F1 is such a glamorous sport and I don't like it. When I can go for free to a Formula One race, hello, I go. It's
To be
motorsport.
honest, I think maybe it's because I have really sentiment to F1. Even though it's kind of a show right now, I think I would go for free. But I understand someone saying it's a glamorous show. I know some also journalists, like MotoGP journalists for years, like for I think since 1980s, being journalists in MotoGP and saying that they never really liked F1, they don't watch F1, they don't like it because it's too glamorous for them when MotoGP is still this mostly this panic of racing, typically racing, and it's mostly focused on racing, even though of course they're running after promotions and promotions. That they just don't like car racing, and honestly, this is everyone's opinion, and everyone has every right to do it because you don't have to. If you don't like F1, you don't have to go there, even if it's free. But you don't feel that it wouldn't be, entertainment for you. It's completely understand that you wouldn't want to.
Yeah, like Patty said, to be fair, the people going in the grandstands aren't the glamour people. Those are rather paddock area and VIP suites. Yeah, I think that's kind of true.
Yeah, paddock area, um, especially in F1 VIP suits. Yeah, completely. Yeah, these are people who get invited or have money to go there. People in the grandstand are just people who were able, who mostly, like also us, were able to pay this much money for collecting for years sometimes to go there to see at least a few times in a lifetime to see F1 live. Of course they are, but yeah, paddock, this is sport. We all know that these are sports for rich, and being in the paddock, especially in F1, but also in MotoGP, is quite expensive to be in a paddock. I know a friend who, when I was in Austria for MotoGP as a fan a few years ago, I was in a grandstand in Red Bull Ring on turn 10, and my friend collected her money and she paid for VIP village for the ticket. I know she paid some money, but it was still like 7 or 6 times less than for paddock pass in F1
That's
for
crazy.
1 day, and she paid for 3 days. So F1 is absolute top when it's about being expensive and being in excluding people.
Yeah, definitely. Not just for drivers, even for the fans. So yeah.
Now for the fans, even for journalists, it's sometimes too hard to get there. Even though they are good journalists, it's sometimes hard to get them. They don't have to pay like a MotoGP, but it's hard. It's hard to get a media pass for
Yeah,
F1. Really hard.
definitely.
So if you are honestly like the only thing to be in F1 for free, and kind of enjoy the paddock is being a journalist, but you have to. I'm going to say it bluntly. You have to work your ass off.
Yeah, definitely.
For free in most of the occasions. You don't get paid for what you write about F1, but you're working just to be there sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes you just do stuff like this. Yep, that's so true.
Yeah.
And you always hope that your name will be get out in the world maybe, and you get other opportunities with this. So
Yeah.
you just do it sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why someone could ask me, why do you pay for your own packet to go to Misano like right now? I'm just hoping that the name will follow me someday, someday, and that it will give me the knowledge. Because I said when I was in Most, I met so many people, so many riders,
Yeah.
that then I was able to, for example, bring to my podcast and bring up the position of my podcast. And I think also that because of that, I was able to invite. I can say this is not published yet because I am really lazy about editing audio. But I had an interview with Tony Arbolino, who is now a Moto2 championship leader. I think it's also thanks to that I had built a position. I could do that.
Yeah.
And I met some Polish commentators and journalists in most who came up to me first, even. So this is, you feel that you're bringing yourself up, but the money you have to put in it is sometimes absolutely excruciating, and that's why I have to pay a lot of money to go toward SBK, but this is like a journey money.
Yeah.
Not like F1 that to be in a paddock you have to be lucky to get the media pass, or pay massive money for paddock pass. That's why I really admire what SBK for fans, because you buy a normal ticket for around, if you want to have a good grandstand, it's around, I think now, 170 euro or 200 euro, but it's for 3 days, 200 euro, and you get to go to the paddock.
Yeah.
You can spend your whole day in the paddock and no one's gonna kick you out.
And that's the important stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, now wait. Now, I have no idea what's happening, but hi, we are back.
Okay, I was like, for a second, I was like, oh, geez, I think something went wrong, to be honest. But
Yeah,
I think it's okay now. I was wondering if it's my internet.
there was something, I don't know what it was, but it seems fine now, so all fine.
Yeah, but yeah, my chat is not. Well, I think thanks to that crash, my chat is not working with me. But okay. But I've seen someone saying that they were in Hockenheim
Yeah,
in 2019, and it was the great race. Honestly, Hockenheim was awesome. This was such a crazy race that I don't care. It completely that the results were completely not. They weren't given the pace time. I love that race. Now, give me a second. I have to put a charger to my laptop.
Yeah, oh good, oh good. Oh fun. We have time.
I'm afraid it's gonna die soon.
I know this feeling.
Yeah, okay, it's okay now. It's like, yeah, my laptop is pretty good condition, but I haven't charged in a long time.
Yeah, normal. So
Yeah, wait, I tried to reload the page because it froze. That's why it's not loading.
it could be, but Twitch sometimes have some trouble. So
Yeah, because I don't even see a chat then. So yeah, that's great, Twitch. Thank you.
but maybe should come back when we have new messages in chat. I hope that it's coming
Maybe.
back. Yes, Hockenheim. We had Hockenheim at last, I think.
Yeah, I'm missing German Grand Prix.
Yeah, I'm not sure we will ever have one again.
That sounds sad. I miss it. I totally miss Hockenheim and Nürburgring. They're great tracks for F1.
Yes, and both I visited.
Yeah, and they were like part of history, Like then my father was in Nürburgring in 2007 for this crazy European Grand Prix when almost everyone went out of the track
Oh, nice.
because it was raining.
Yeah.
Yeah, just why would they get rid of German Grand Prix? I mean, I know they wanted to open for the new tracks and things like that.
Money.
But come on.
Money. It's all about the money.
Yeah, money. Like Miami, really?
Yeah. But that's how it works in F1. So I'm really not sure we ever have a German Grand Prix back. So not very optimistic, especially as the German motorsport is not in a really good state at the moment, especially in formula stuff. So
yeah, I think now, like do you have like anyone besides like Sepp retired and Mick is waiting? I think Mick is waiting for the occasion to be put maybe in. I've heard Toto is trying to put him in Williams. Is there anyone in the lower series in Germany that can like provide maybe for the future?
Difficult to say. So we have some in the youth, but I'm not sure if there's anyone really getting high.
I get it.
So maybe I missed some, but I think a German one, not so really. Not even an Mick Schumacher. No, yeah, it was our only hope. Yeah, but I think he is not good
Yeah,
yet.
he had a hard time at Haas.
Yeah, definitely. But I think there is, even in Formula 4, when I'm thinking about it, is at the moment no one I would say that's maybe the one who can save our German motorsport hope at the moment. Tremnitz, really? I don't know. I think he needs to prove a bit more before I can say he is maybe our hope. Tim Tremnitz, I don't know. It's difficult to say at the moment. So I think it could be a difficult years for us. So
yeah, I also see someone saying that we need Nürburgring and Hockenheim, not Singapore, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Miami, Las Vegas, Kota, and stuff like that. Yeah, honestly, I think Singapore is one of the tracks that's kind of iconic already, and I think this is one of the kinds. So I think I wouldn't count Singapore as someone that should go, but I know they want to open for the Americans, but making like 3 tracks that are able to go to US,
yeah,
too much. I think No, I think that's why this is the place when we could go to Hockenheim, like the traditional stuff that can provide great racing, as we know. Then building another track like in Las Vegas just to open to the Americans, which wasn't going great when we had only Kota. Honestly, Kota is absolutely amazing for MotoGP. Kota is one of the greatest track for MotoGP, especially like Mark Marquez, who's a who's a king of Kota. But I think yeah, for F1 it's not that as good as for MotoGP. Yeah, Singapore is iconic. I love that this is a little different. Also, at least some drama in Singapore happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, like another America, too much. Like even they wanted to do a race. I think they could go to Las Vegas immediately if they wanted to take a race because Las Vegas is maybe more iconic. I think it's gonna be a street circuit, so always something different.
Yeah.
Then going to Miami with fake marinas.
So yeah, so
Yeah,
crazy.
last year was great. Last year was great with the debut.
Yeah. But as Tank said, we in the US need F1 too, you know? So yeah, I mean it's cool to race in US with Formula One, but I
Yeah.
think one Grand Prix would be enough. So
Or two, maybe it would be good if you want to for open for America, which I know
yeah,
that I absolutely think that Formula One should be also popular in America, because I think people in America would really like it next to NASCAR and all the other races. I know that many Americans who loves F1, but I think like two tracks is too much because they can focus on promoting F1, like by this one, they are making more races, hoping it's gonna help. But then we have so many tracks that are gonna be left out because of that.
yeah,
I'm still next to America. I hope America is gonna open more. And I think Las Vegas may be a good track. Miami is not so great, as we've seen. It doesn't really provide that much of a good racing,
yeah.
to be honest. But I'm really still hoping that if we are supposed to make a world championship that the racing series I finally gonna go back to South Africa someday.
Mhm.
I would really like to see, especially F1, maybe F1 as first before the rest, going to South Africa again.
That would be
Because I think the
interesting. Yeah.
last F1 race in South Africa was like in 1996.
It needs to be a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. I
Kyalami. Yeah.
think I think Nigel Mansell was racing
Yeah.
then. Still, that
Yeah.
was a quite long time ago.
That's yeah. It's a bit.
Yeah,
Some many
so yeah,
years.
yeah, it has to come back.
Yeah. That would be. Yeah. That would be interesting.
Watkins Glen, Laguna Seca, back to go back to Indy. Yeah, like I love Laguna Seca. I
Yeah.
adore Laguna Seca. It was a great track in MotoGP, and the best pictures of MotoGP when going through the track limits and racing hard are from Laguna Seca. But the fact, I'm afraid we're not gonna get Laguna Seca back, as this asphalt is not in a
Yeah.
state to hold. I mean, we only had MotoGP there. We didn't have lower classes. It was already saying something. And I'm afraid we won't go back to Laguna Seca because this is not a track that it's now disposable for this kind of racing we have now. We're going to India this year for the first time. I'm curious to see that. I know my Indian fans are, and my Indian colleagues are so happy because, India is like a big motorcycles market.
Yeah.
They
Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah, they are moving around like Indonesia, mostly on a scooter. So this is something big, and I think they're happy because not many series goes to India,
That's
which is good.
true. And they have really many motorsport enthusiasts there. So we have I forgot her name, but I'm connected and we are connected with Racer with one of the Indian people. And they're really, really trying to get more motorsport out in the world and especially to India and out of India. And so I think that's a
Yeah,
great, great big market to explore in the next years. So that could be very, very interesting.
yeah, motorsport is a big thing in India, so I think this is a great. But at the same time, MotoGP decided that it would be a great idea to go to Kazakhstan.
Yeah, well, try something new.
Money, money, money from Kazakhstan's billionaires. But I mean, it happens that they didn't give this circuit homologation in the end, so we don't go there this year.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like Finland. They built Finland, but they cannot get into the talks with the circuit after it was cancelled because of the COVID, and now they can't hold MotoGP there because something is wrong there, and I'm afraid we won't ever go
Yeah.
to Finland in the end with MotoGP.
And they have no money left on the Kimi ring, so looking not so
Yeah, they
good.
don't have any money left practically, and they would have to pay this money to make this circuit accessible
Yeah.
for people because MotoGP is big, and this circuit I think a few years ago out of curiosity I was looking if maybe it would be a good idea to go there because for example plane tickets to Helsinki are not that expensive for me, and I was like, but getting there is problematic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was problematic really, and now they finally finished this new circuit in Hungary.
Yeah. That's also
Yeah, there's a
interesting.
new circuit in Hungary that was supposed to hold MotoGP in 2009, but it wasn't finished. Now it's finished, and they're thinking that maybe MotoGP should go there because this is the part of Europe that MotoGP doesn't go to anymore since they stopped racing in Czech Republic at Brno because of the asphalt and the stuff.
Yeah.
So honestly, it would be quite interesting to see them in Hungary because Hungaroring is not good for bikes. Maybe this would be, but they're also talking that they want to in the future get homologation for F1. So like that we would replace Hungaroring, I guess, because I
Interesting.
think as Daniel said in the chat that everything is too small for today's F1. That's kind of true. I even see a tweet today, opinion and discussion if Monte Carlo's track is
Yeah.
too small for F1 cars. Everything is becoming too small for this for today's F1. To be honest, Hungaroring is now it was really good track and fun racing, especially when there was raining. It became kind of again like a typical F1 train of cars.
Definitely. Yeah, I saw the same tweet, I think. So I just
Yeah.
got into the replies a bit, and yeah, they always says, "Hey, it's all too small for the
Yeah.
tracks are also small for the cars."
Yeah.
So,
I don't
yeah.
know if you ever seen, like, I've seen a photo when I think, I don't know, I think it was of McLaren when they put their car from the last years next to Senna's car and next to Lewis's car from 2008. This nowadays car is so bigger, even than Lewis's car
Hmm.
from 2008, that this is just absolutely crazy. I'm not surprised that almost all the tracks are becoming too small for F1, and they are making this big front wings that literally my friend went to F1 as a journalist for the first time in Baku,
Hmm.
and he said that even F2 wings are so much bigger live than they are on the pictures, that F1 wings are almost as tall as him. And I'm not surprised that they're too big for
Yeah,
many kind of tracks.
that's kind of crazy. So yeah, we have so many old tracks. There are not that big. So yeah.
Yeah.
My goose said Anna's talk was too small for F1 even in the 70s, but they still raced there, so nothing changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, well. But I think we will not race in Sweden anytime soon. So,
Definitely in Finland as well. I saw someone saying that don't get Vivka started on Finland, she will never stop.
well, maybe.
Yeah, and well, uh, I saw someone saying I think I've lost. But I saw something about Bottas going to the finish track. Yeah, I know Valtteri. He was trying to do something with the Kimi ring and to develop it. I think he was trying to get involved in developing it, but I've seen only a small tweet about it. I think, or an article. So I'm not really sure what he is about to do or is doing with it right now. Maybe you know because I wasn't really focused on that.
No, I have no idea, but maybe we'll find out later.
Yeah, maybe.
So yeah, but I have no idea. Yeah. So yeah, and the Kimi Ring, I mean, they're racing there with some small series. I know the VR Thunder Finland race series is racing there. Wow, that was a sentence. Um, but I'm not sure if there will be have any big series anytime soon. So
Yeah, after this MotoGP flop, I'm not
yes,
sure.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but wait. I see someone saying that the 2014 Mercedes was smaller than the current F3 car. I'm not really sure. It's like it's hard to in my mind to compare an F3 car to the old F1 car because they look so small on TV. I never seen them live, but yeah, I think we all know the fact that these old F1 cars are now more size of F2, I think, and closer to that than to F1. So yeah, I think they did a little too much around that area work
yeah,
to make it big.
but they will not stop it. So when they have any chance to change their car to make it better, they will just do it. So
Yeah, just like we talk about Ario in
yeah,
MotoGP. Yeah, they have the chance, they will go for it. Even if we don't like that, they're not gonna take this opinion into account.
sure. And when they don't do it, any other team will do it. So they need to do it. So
Exactly.
it will ever
Just
be the
like
same.
just like Ducati did this Pokemon Wings and everyone saw it, everyone started doing the same because if they wouldn't do it, they would fall behind
Yeah.
even more.
And that's it. That's how it works. So it will ever be the same, I think, and it will be maybe more crazy in the future. So yeah.
Yeah.
The question is, do we start designing smaller cars with the safety features around the 2003 4 dimensions in what I can't read dimensions in mind, or we redesign all tracks? That's not possible, and mostly uninspiring car parks. If one went for the second, I think we can't redesign all the tracks, especially with the money.
Yeah. I mean, I have to find something. I mean, we can't build new tracks all the time because let's be honest, the world is coming closer to the moment that we won't have any oil cars on the roads.
Yeah,
They're gonna be electric cars mostly on the roads, and then the reality is that it's soon they would like to probably maybe not in next 30 years but someday they want to replace probably even F1 with something more electric. There are even electric cars on Dakar already on a desert. And we all know Formula E, and we know that Formula E doesn't need that big tracks, normal tracks. They just need something built on the streets on the way, like in Rome.
yeah,
So, yeah, I think building new tracks all the time is not even that much of an option. And we know at the same time they're going for bigger cars. Of course, it's also probably connected to the fact of the safety, like creating Halo, and Halo is absolutely has a good name because it's a halo like of an angel.
yeah.
Literally saved many people's lives already. But yeah, we all know the fact that this is getting too big for many tracks. Many historics and great tracks that provided with the greatest racing we've ever seen. So it's so hard to say.
Yeah, definitely. But we will see. The future will show us which way they choose and how it will go. So
Yeah.
in every series. So Che, when you don't have any questions more, I have one last question I need to ask
Mm-hmm.
because it was asked on the Discord. Which is your favorite character in Mario Kart?
Oh God. Uh,
Welcome to my crazy community.
yeah. Yeah, and your committee, they're not gonna like me because I was never a big fan of games or anything like that. I never played games. So I don't know Mario Kart at all, almost at all.
That's not a big thing.
Yeah, just like I don't know. I was the fact maybe is the fact that I was never good at it and not playing or anything. Honestly, I have F1 like old F1 14. I have a steering wheel, but let's be honest, this is like a cheap steering wheel, so it's not working too well. How many times I crashed when racing in Singapore? Then I was lucky because I won in F1 for 114 play in Singapore, and then I started crashing at Monza. So you wouldn't like to, maybe that's why I still don't have a driver license.
It's kind of different to do, so
Yeah, I'm hoping, but
trust me.
yeah, I still prefer two wheels. I think I still prefer two wheels, but in Poland to have a motorcycle license, it's much easier and cheaper to get a driving license first for the car.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Money, money, money in every aspect of life.
Exactly. You want to do anything, it's money, money,
Yes.
money.
Yeah. It's kind of sad, but it's the word how it works. So I think we don't get over this.
Yeah. If someone says that, I know this isn't unpopular, but we take the ugly Formula E cars, put F1 engines in them, and they are the cars F1 needs.
Let's try. I'm in for all. Let's
I
try.
would love to see that.
Yes.
Yeah. But then I think then we also have to put, because I always wanted to see that we have to put Lewis Hamilton in F3 car. I always wanted to see that.
Yeah, let's do this. We just
Maybe,
tell them next time that they have to do this, and then they need to do this.
yeah,
It's a good plan.
I mean, yeah, honestly, yes, F1 cars, even though they're big as heck right now, and they are really aerodynamics, everything. I think I like them a little more than F3 than Formula E cars design.
I hate Gen
Yeah.
3. They're so ugly.
Me too. I hate Gen 3 as well.
Yeah,
Like, no, that's too much.
yeah, they're so ugly. Sorry about the law.
Yeah, they're so ugly, but honestly, they are at least can race in like the circuit, like typical.
That's true.
Where typical street circuits.
Yeah.
Like built just like you were in Berlin yourself.
Yeah, they're doing good racing. That's for sure. But they just looking very ugly.
Yeah,
while doing this.
And let's be honest, getting used to the sound.
Yes.
Is whole another story.
But to be honest, in live, it's not that annoying as it's on TV. To be honest, so it's a kind of different to hear them in real life or hear them over TV or YouTube or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, but I also think I was in MotoGP, and then there's there's Moto E as well. I was in the round that had Moto E, and after the whole day of racing, when we had the sessions of Moto3, which honestly, when you go to MotoGP and you think you can sit through Moto3 without your headphones, it is not possible. Your ears will bleed. These guys are on Moto3 on small bikes, and your ears will be bleeding. Then there's Moto2, much more noisier, and there is MotoGP, half of the lap without using. You are absolutely deaf for the rest of the day. And then after it comes Moto E, when you are so unused to the sound, and also the fact that when they were going around the whole Red Bull ring, you could hear them all the time. Like just like I was sitting in media center in Czech Republic for World SBK, I could hear the super bikes all the time from the whole track they were racing for 22 laps. And then there's Moto E, who you hear them when they're coming by you. And then the sound kind of disappears. And I think, it's like you don't hear anything, you only see their bikes on the screen. So I think this was also a mistake of MotoGP and Red Bull Ring, that they didn't give an extra boost to the sound, so we could hear the bikes even though they were in corner 2 and I was corner 10, so we could focus on watching. Because when you don't have a sound, it's always becoming kind of boring to sit there and wait for them just to come by your corner when you are sitting, just to hear them and feel it. So this is one of the disadvantages of this e-racing, that you have to really work on them to be able to hear, because part of the experience is hearing those cars and those bikes go around the track, because then you see them and you hear them in one corner, and then you hear silence for the most big part of the lap. And this is not so interesting, and this is not a great experience as MotoGP or what Superbikes or F1 when they're going around the track.
That's so true, yeah. Even the rallycross cars are so weird since they have the electric engine. And so, what are these? It sounds not
Yeah,
right. It sounds so wrong. So yeah.
yeah. My father was like, he's not for now. He's not a fan of of Formula E itself, even though he watched with me the races with me, and he said that this is quite interesting races and fun races. He was like, he said to me like, I can't get used to the fact that this sounds like a freaking vacuum cleaner all the time, and you hear vacuum cleaner like my mother would just vacuum around the whole house for almost an hour. That he just cannot get used to that.
I love this. Yeah, but it's so
Yeah,
true. Yeah, it's a different kind of motorsport without all the sounds. So let's
yeah,
see if they change stuff on this, that you
yeah.
have more sound in the future, or if we need to, yeah, get attached to it. So
Yeah, yeah, or yeah, like Formula E would have to work on the sound and the experience itself on the track, and Formula One would have to work on the racing problems because I think once there was I think a situation when Checo Perez couldn't race because something happened. I think he was injured and he watched the race on TV, and he later said, "I didn't know that on TV this was so boring."
you're well.
Yeah, and everyone was like, Checo, yes, watching F1 on TV can be sometimes so boring that you can do plenty different things, just not being focused on TV, and nothing really happens in that race.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. So
Yeah.
sometimes, yeah, you have those races you're thinking, oh God, when it's over, please.
Yeah, like happens, like sometimes it happens that there's like a 4 hour race because there are some, I don't know, there was an incident on the first lap, then there was a restart and another incident on another first lap,
Hmm.
and then there's the rain coming, and you're like, I am absolutely done with this sport.
Yeah, yeah, that's also our journeys in motorsport sometimes. So yeah, it's always exciting. So even the boring parts are sometimes exciting.
Yeah. I'm
Anytime
just now
happens.
seeing from the chat and just checked my Twitter that Leclerc got a penalty.
Yes,
Monaco curse in full, absolutely in
yeah,
full.
it's not a track for any Leclerc. So
Yes, exactly. Like I don't know, maybe Leclerc should just skip Monaco on every season, and it would go the same way. Absolutely, he's gonna crash tomorrow probably, or there's gonna be malfunction in Ferrari's engine as always.
yeah, they really should just
Yeah,
skip this. So I'm yeah looking forward what happens tomorrow in the race. So let's see what this will
yeah.
be.
As I said, I don't have via play, but I'm for sure gonna follow to see how it's gonna end, especially how it's gonna end for
Yeah,
Charles.
definitely. And then the Indy 500 will be later.
Yeah, I think I will be ready to get I'll be ready to trying to get ready for Misano as I'm ready. I don't know if you know that feeling. I have 3 interviews in Misano to do. I have great idea for questions for 2, but for the third one, I'm sitting like, God, I have no idea what to ask this
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. Sometimes it is like this, and you just hope when you're starting talking that something comes in your mind, and
Yeah, that
it's
he's gonna say something.
yeah, and it's click, and then you can just act. But sometimes you're really sitting there for paper on in front of you, and so what the hell I should ask them? Hmm.
Yeah, sometimes I'm also like, like I have a grip. One guy, I have already like, I had got 15 minutes with him, which is
Hmm.
in Misano. When this is a big truck for racing, it's kind of good because there are many journalists there. I'm like, all right, I have 9 questions already. I can still figure it out some more. And I'm like, then there goes the second guy, like, I have 5 questions and then I am already out of the ideas and I'm going to travel for 2 days without no internet. So I should better figure it out something.
That's life. That's journalist life.
Yeah, journalist life. That's how it looks, guys. That's how it looks when you
Right.
wanna put yourself in that position, especially that this guy is a full Spaniard whose English is not the best.
Yeah. We
So
are
I don't. Yeah, so I doubt he's gonna say something more than ask.
yes. We are pros, but all the other no, we not. We just improvise everything, more or
Yeah,
less.
exactly.
So,
You just come into a racetrack, and you are for the first time. You are on the track for the first time. First, you are lost. You don't know how to get to the entrance.
oh god,
Then you don't
yes.
know where the media center is. Then you are walking around the paddock, trying to find all the hospitalities you have to go to later. I'm doing that. I'm going around the paddock for a walk. I'm just looking where the hospitalities are, so I know where to go before an interview. And then you don't know where the debriefs with the riders are after the session, so you are also lost, completely lost. And there's some crazy stuff going on this debriefs, like they're talking about each other, they're commenting each other, like Toprak is swinging on the chair and then he's fall like 13 times and just can't get a normal recorded.
Yeah,
So generally racing, honestly, racing paddock is pure chaos.
yeah, it is. Always. Doesn't matter which series you visit, it's cars. Every time. It's
Yeah.
kind of crazy. But it's everything we want to do, so
Yeah, it's like you're coming there, everything is so crazy. Sometimes you are done, you're thinking like, God, I have to do this much things. I don't know where these people are. Like I don't know when it's gonna take place because, for example, I know that I have two interviews in the hospitality, but one I have to go. I'm meeting the guys, behind their garage. So
mhm.
I don't know if it's gonna be garage or something else. Or like when you're going to races alone and you want to have some pictures, I'm mostly asking the press officers, but sometimes I don't know if they probably don't want to, record the interviews themselves. Then I would have to give them my phone.
Yeah.
So I would have to record on an iPad. Then I have to have questions, on the normal notebook, just in case, if I had to use an iPad for recording. This is like such a complicated thing, but this is how it works. Like this is a big improvisation. Like sometimes you are already there. In one interview, just meeting the press officer, and he said, really sorry. I'm really, really sorry, but it's not gonna work out this weekend."
Yeah.
So you are one interview down, and this stuff really happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that's racing life. That's really, it looks mostly so smooth and planned and yeah, but it's mostly not. They
Yeah,
just trying
it's
their best.
mostly honestly being working in a paddock is a pure chaos. Everything
It's,
that could happen is happening on that weekend, really. And also for the not only for journalists, for the riders, for
yeah.
the press officers, for the people who organize the briefings, everything that is crazy could happen. Even for example, it happened I think once that they put the flowers for the podium in the media center. And they were really intelligent at that because they put it next to the coffee machine.
Hmm,
And I
nice.
think that it happened that there was a journalist TV walking with a big camera, and I've heard that he split it. So there were one bucket down.
Well, that's not so good. Oh well. I love this. I love these stories. It's always you have always stories to tell when you're getting back from a paddock and a track visit. So that's
Yeah, I'm always sad when I come back from the track. And like,
yes,
I know I won't be able to go in a probably a long time. Like, God, I'm gonna miss this so much because even though I can complain sometimes, I had so much fun with these guys
yeah,
and what they are doing. With all the girls who are working there because we know each other mostly. So this is always fun. And to be honest, you miss being on the track, even though sometimes it's pure chaos and you're absolutely done.
yeah. But it's like it's a family on track. So you mostly know the people with some time, and you especially when you do the same series more often and not like me
Yeah.
jumping from one series to and then another series also. But you just know people there, and it's like a family. So all the cars is really
Yeah, exactly. You're becoming a part of this family, and it's also being on track is also always a perk for a journalist. As the fact, for example, if I weren't ever on track for what is BK, for example, I wouldn't have that great contact with the press officers that I have now. That they book me for interviews, they know me, they kind of trust me with that.
yeah,
For example, I also wouldn't be from the on the Ducati group that has special perks, to be honest, because I get recorded recorded quotes after the every session from the Ducati press officers. I get invited to press conference of Ducati in Honda, for example, and this is something that they add you to the group because they already know you. Because I had an interview with Alvaro Bautista, and I had an interview with Iker Lecuona in most, and they knew me. They knew I'm something that's it's worth having them around,
Yeah.
which is pretty good to be honest. So even though you have to pay a lot of money sometimes, I think you agree with me that being there is completely different experience and completely different from building the network your work
Yeah.
around than working only through Zoom sometimes. Because when people know you from being around and being there, because you are there, so you are someone good because they gave you this accreditation. Then they trust, they think differently of you. Just they think higher of you.
Yeah, and you're a person they know. They saw you, they know who you are. Just who you are. They just have one. I mean, writing you can write with everyone, so it's kind of cool. But when you see a person in natural, I think that's a whole different level, mostly, especially for media people and yeah, press officers and
Yeah.
drivers and riders to have a special connection to really see if it works and who you are. And I think that's being the perks to be on track.
Yeah, they kind of see how you behave and
Yeah,
how you talk to the drivers and riders life,
yeah,
how you behave around them. Because when, for example, I think I once talked to Anna Carrasco, it was over a phone, and even though I think I have a quite a friendly voice, sometimes it's not the same as looking at someone's eyes and someone's face, especially live,
yeah,
because you see them on Zoom, but it's always different than seeing their body language and how they look
yeah,
at you live, and how the press officers are behaving around you and how the whole team works around you. This is always something better. I think people always like to talk to the journalists live and see how they ask questions, how they behave around the whole team.
yeah.
And for me, it's always a free coffee.
Yeah, that's always the best thing. I mean, I don't drink
Yeah, that's
coffee, but
always the thing. You go for an interview, and the first thing they ask you, you want something to eat, maybe something to drink. I can make you a coffee. And like, I needed a coffee. Honda has a great coffee. I can tell you all that.
good to
And
know. Good to know.
yeah, from Kawasaki and January, I got cola, so it's always something.
Yeah, at least yeah, you just have like Dan says, you can ride with one people for years and have a good relationship. Then you meet them at one race, and suddenly it's in your level of trust. And I think that's so true.
Yeah,
So
and actually they also remember you. Like I think I did something like, because I wasn't really sure. In February there was a launch of Honda bike in World Superbikes, and I got an email, of course, as someone written down for a press curtain. I got an email about the press conference after. So, but you have to write an email saying that you want to be there.
mhm,
And I wrote to the press officer saying, I don't know if you remember me and stuff. And she's like, of course I remember you. And she's like, okay, this is here. You can come here by this time, but please be kind of early because I would like to let people early. Just like that people remember you. I mean, even some of them even have on Instagram as you follow them, they
yeah,
follow you, or you even have them in Facebook friends. And this is always something different
yeah, that's
when
crazy.
yeah, that's you think like looking through your Facebook friends, like, I have these guys in my contact. How crazy is that?
Yes, or you're looking in your phone on your phone numbers and thinking, wow, I have kind of collected some phone numbers from some drivers. So
Yeah,
what the hell is happening?
yeah. Like I was working as a press officer for a long time as well for Dakar and other rallies, and social media manager for Dakar. So. And for the Polish team at Enduro, because there was something like 6 days of Enduro. This is like a international championship, like this one big event for all the national teams in Enduro, so in their motocross racing. And I was their professor, first officer during that time. Normally like contracted by the Polish Federation of Motorcycle. So I have all of their numbers. One of them I even have on Be Real. So I'm like, okay, that's pretty crazy. I also have a number to Anna Carrasco after an interview. So it's like, you're looking through your phone and you're like,
That's
oh
crazy.
damn, I never expect to see these people in my contacts.
Yeah, definitely. That's so crazy. Especially when you think on your beginnings and you think, wow, I would never think that would happen. That's so crazy.
Yes, me too. I'm like, sometimes I'm sitting especially I'm thinking that when I'm kind of angry and tired, that I have to go again and pay for my own packet, and it's kind of tiring. It's always tiring, and I'm thinking like, but 2 years ago I was 16 years old, and then even then I couldn't imagine that I would start, and that today I would be here.
Yeah,
Talking to all these people, knowing all these people, I would absolutely could never imagine that, like, at all.
same. It's just crazy. So yeah, it's
Yeah, when
never.
you look at yourself from a few years back
Yes.
to now, and you're like, oh god, like if I met her today, like she would absolutely lose it.
Yes, for 4 years ago, I was so afraid to speak English. So it's so crazy what happens and what drivers I met and what journeys I made, and yeah, it's just crazy. It can so much happen in just 1 year or 2 years or whatever. It's
Yeah, I was
absolutely
also
crazy.
kind of shy. I was shy of all these people, and then I had meet so many new. I know Polish journalists, and they are talking to me. Sometimes they are writing to me, or for example, giving other opinions. I don't know. Uh, for example, I don't know, I had an interview with the MotoGP legend Andrea Dovizioso. I almost threw up from stress before, but
I feel this.
honestly, I had to. This is an interview is the time that you have to pull yourself together,
Yeah.
smile, and just go through it, and this teaches you something, how to how to interact with people. So me, like from 3 years ago, like 15-year-old would never think about that.
Yeah, same. I mean, I have kind of social anxiety, so yeah, I know it. But what I reached in this time, with this social anxiety, it's
Yeah.
kind of crazy. I mean, I would never think I would do stuff like this, interviews in English on stream, or going to a racetrack and talk with drivers and other people there. I would never believe it. Never. When you said
Yeah.
this to me 5 years ago or so, I would
Yeah,
no, never.
exactly. And as I see Daniel at here, that you can write with people for years and have a good relationship, but then you meet them at race point and suddenly this is a new level of trust.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely. Like people can, like I had Dominic Agarter kind of knowing me from Instagram and stuff, and then but meeting him on the racetrack and seeing him saying hi to me was a whole different level of being shocked, to be honest,
Yeah.
because he already knew me. Or this is the fact that even if you didn't talk to some riders, they've seen you every day at the briefings.
Mm-hmm.
And this was, even if they see you, they know that you're here, they know that you deserve it, and that you work here, and you are some kind of higher level person already. For example, I never thought, for example, that Axel Bossani, so one of the riders, I never really talked to him. I only see him at the briefings, and just few eyes contact and stuff. That he would remember me
Yeah.
later on. For example, sharing some of my stories from the briefings on his Instagram, just like Scott Redding. I didn't have a word with Scott Redding, to be honest. I don't know. Scott Redding has something in him that makes him really make me really shy around him, to be honest. He's just a powerful personality, a really different, even different level than Johnny, because Johnny, as I said, he's really nice. He's a powerful personality, but he's really nice. Scott Redding has totally a different feeling to be in a powerful personality, but he also remembered me.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I know this feeling, so yeah. When people
Yeah.
suddenly remember you and know your name and whatever, and you're so, why?
Yeah, honestly, if I'm gonna walk in Mizama and if Iker Lecoin is gonna remember my name, I will be shocked.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I haven't seen him since most last year, so it's gonna be July. If he's gonna remember me, I will be surprisingly shocked, to be honest.
but it can happen. So yeah, that's
It can
crazy.
happen, even though I look totally different because I have red hair. I know how men are with hair colors.
Oh well,
Sorry,
he will
guys.
can do this.
It took my best friend, my male best friend, 3 days to see that I have red hair. I was blonde. I saw him every day for 2 hours because we had PE together, physical education. It took him 3 days, in 2 days with physical education of 2 hours, to see that I have a red hair instead of blonde. And it was just one moment he stopped, looked at me, and he said, "You have a strange hair color." I was like, "Yeah, for 3 days I had a red hair already, and now you're noticing that."
Well, that they yeah, well, no, that are
Yes.
our male companions.
Yeah. I see someone writing, I think Dakar. Does Julia know Cyril the Press? My favorite rider driver of Dakar all times. Yeah, I of course I know Cyril, but I don't know him personally. Unfortunately, I would love to. But yeah, I know he's an absolute legend, but I just don't know him personally. I know some other Dakar and rally riders personally or friends by friends. Generally, I mostly know Polish drivers because I worked for a Polish motorcycle rider who was one of the youngest, who won the junior category last year, for example. He didn't start this year because he got an appendix. It's just it's just so unlucky. 2 weeks before Dakar, he was supposed to fly. He got an appendix and he had to have surgery.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was one of the youngest to ever win Dakar in his category, in the junior category. So he was around, I think, top 20 in whole Dakar, and he's 3 years older than me.
Crazy.
Yeah, so I know mostly from Dakar. I know more just Polish people or some girls who were riding.
Yeah. Only 3 days is pretty good for a guy. Speak for you, Magoo. Speak for you.
Yeah, only 3 days. Honestly, after that time, I was wondering if he's even gonna notice at all.
Well,
Honestly, it could have been that way that my hair color would already start to fade because red is a color that fades
yeah,
quickly and becomes mostly like kind of foxy yellow red,
yeah.
something like that, like kind of like lifts in the autumn. But yeah, I'm even at the moment I was like, wow, you even notice that is some progress.
You passed the test.
Yeah, and when he was, this is like when he was at the hairdresser and changed. Honestly, he changed his hair just a little bit. It was a little bit shorter. I saw it from the half of the corridor. I tried to, I see him on the other side of the corridor and saying to my friend, he was at the hairdresser.
That's the difference between us and them.
Yeah, this is quite a surprising difference.
Definitely. Ah, that's so cool.
So this gives me hope that maybe the people in the paddock will recognize me, even though I'm not. They will notice that I have a different haircut.
I'm pretty sure they will remember you, so I don't worry too much
I
about it.
think it's always easier because otherwise it's kind of awkward because you kind of like, should I remind them
Yes.
that's already met, or should I just introduce myself again?
Yeah, that's yeah. I know this feeling, so yeah. But honestly, the most will recognize you. So
Yeah,
after
or
what
that
I
there's always a
experienced,
press officer who will whisper a word.
that's the thing I normally not have when I interview people because there's never a press officer around. But
Yeah,
it works.
there are perks of having a press officer
Yeah,
at the side. They are just watching over everything, and you're like, exactly, especially the language barrier, they're gonna help because they are here. For them, they're gonna remind the rider something. They can, for example, take pictures of you, like taking an interview if you don't have anyone. Because I asked that, and they're always happy to take pictures when
yeah,
I was.
that's cool. That's
No,
definitely
that's
cool.
always cool. Yeah. I mean, it's always a different level of trust if you know that there is a press officer
Yeah,
and you have an interview without them. This is kind of another level of trust. But I said I had it 3 times. I had it 3 times because one was with the Leonardo Taccini that I said that we knew each other for most, so it was okay. It was known it's gonna be okay. With Anna Carrasco, I don't really know why we didn't have a press officer because it was on the phone, but technically she could also join this call. I don't know.
yeah,
I'm happy for the trust.
definitely.
And once was with Polish rider for Dakar, Konrad Dąbrowski, with whom I worked literally 3 weeks later. So you could say that I was kind of already his press officer at the time. So
Yeah,
it
Fitzer.
just wasn't officially. It just wasn't officially said that I'm gonna be one.
That's so crazy. I love
Yeah.
these stories. It's
Yeah, the stories are great. I see.
yeah.
Can we hear something about Andrea Dovizioso? I see people love Andrea Dovizioso.
Same so.
Yeah. Yeah, Andrea. Well, I had an interview with him a year ago. It was in April, and it was before Portimao in MotoGP. It was a few months before he retired in Misano. And yeah, it was organized because the press officer of that team is honestly, she's really open to people. She's great. I booked. She's also working for DNW in World SBK. So I also booked an interview with her. She already knows me quite well from because she booked an interview for Darren and Binder and for Andrea Dovizioso both. So we know each other for a long time. Dovey is great. Honestly, he's a super nice person. This is something different than you talk. Of course, we talk about the language barrier and the joke language barrier between a native speaker like Darren Binder is South African. So we just talked to one. It was English all the time and the jokes in English. It's different than Italian rider, but Dovey is really great. He's super respectful. He's super nice. He always to everyone, and he also is really open to talking. If you ask the right question, because there was the question I asked, I found that he went a little around them because that's what they can do. We also journalists can also do that, and the writers can as well. But there are some that he really said really great things for an interview. He was really open to answering all the questions I had, and also the first. It was one of my first interviews ever, like for MotoGP. It was my first ever MotoGP interview, so I was incredibly nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And but thanks to that he was open, I also had a nice. I also had a very nice situation because I had. He said that he's not in MotoGP only to be there, and that because I asked him how does it feel to be involved in MotoGP, but then he was in Ducati and he was winning, and now he's back of the grid.
I have a mosquito here.
I
I just hear it on my ear. It makes me crazy.
mosquitoes are the worst.
Yes.
But yeah, that he said that he doesn't want to be in MotoGP just to be there. And literally like a few months later, he announced his retirement, saying something similar. So honestly, from my interview, people could already read that he was thinking that this is not what he wants to do when he is supposed to be done. That he really doesn't like it. So yeah, great figure, great person. He's gonna be crowned a MotoGP legend, like officially with like a whole medal, I think, in 3 weeks in Mugello. He absolutely deserved it, even though he was never a world champion. He was fighting with Marc Marquez.
Yeah, sometimes it's not going to be champion, so you can be as good as you can be, and you are an amazing driver, rider, whatever. But sometimes it's just not given to you.
Sometimes it's just
sorry.
Sometimes it's just like you are good, you are doing great, but there's one guy who's in front of you, and you just can't overcome him. Like Charles was doing great in Ferrari for the first years, but there was Lewis.
Yeah.
Now there's Max.
Yeah.
And a Ferrari strategist.
Yes. It's so true. It's sometimes there is someone who is just a little step better than you.
Yeah, like Lewis and Nico Rosberg situation.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. They were both in the greatest car on the grid. They were both good. But for the most of the times, it was Lewis who were coming out on top.
Yeah. Oh yes, definitely. There was an interesting battle between them.
Yeah, there was Lauda and Hunt stuff.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yes. So, but I would say we're almost 3 hours in.
Yeah.
I think it's the longest interview we ever had so far. But we need to come to an end, unfortunately. But
I mean, I guess we could talk for a long time.
Definitely, but I mean, there's ever the opportunity that we make another one. So, when the
I'm
chat
absolutely open for that.
When you're in the chat is interested, and I think there are, so we definitely can do another one. But we just started. Are you crazy?
I mean, I'm absolutely, up for doing another one.
Definitely.
yeah, maybe even after Misano, I think after Misano I'll be able to say more behind the scenes stories
Definitely,
about being in the paddock.
that would be pretty interesting. But I need some food, and I think there is a iRacing race soon, so that I need
Yeah, I need some
short.
food as well, and I am going to a race tomorrow with my friend as private, so I'm going to get ready. There's
Yeah,
like
would be
something
good.
in Poland close to my home that is called like Grand Prix of Poland or Quarter of Mile, and this is like the typical racing you all guys see in the Fast and Furious. Two cars on the line, one host just picking up the flag, and they're going in a straight line, and I think it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, and it's legal.
Yeah, and it's legal, and it's on the old airport.
Ah, that's cool. I hope you have much of fun tomorrow.
Thank you.
And yeah, we will definitely do this again, I would say, because it was much of fun. I don't even know that we are 3 hours in, but we
Me
are.
too. Like honestly, you just told me like a minute ago, like this is 3 hours in. And like, what? I went last time. I looked at the time. It was like, uh, after 7 p.m.
Yes, it's so crazy, but that's how it shows that we have fun on this, and that's kind of cool. So I
Yeah.
love this. So I definitely in to do this again. Maybe I'm still thinking about doing a special in December with more guests, so I can have 3 guests.
Oh,
That's
that's cool.
that's still a thing I think about. So maybe we do this. I need to figure out how it works, but I can have 3 guests. So maybe we do this in December, and if not, we have plenty of months left. And next year,
Exactly. There's plenty of time, many months to go.
really. So we definitely do this again. But for now, I would say thank you very much. I see that Linda is going online, so we will rate Linda in a minute for her, I think, 3 hour race with Dom. I don't know. I don't listen. I think it's a 3 hour iRacing race, so we will definitely
Wow.
rate Linda in a sec. Um, then I would say thank you very much for being here, Jules.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here, and it was great time. Honestly, I enjoyed it so much.
Me too. Not the mosquito here, but the rest definitely. We will definitely do this again.
We
Chat
have to.
definitely. Chat, thanks. Thank you for being here and being chatty and asking questions and being
Yeah.
as
Thank you
all
for questions, for welcoming me here
yes
so
and
I could ramble about my stuff a little bit.
definitely and be also a great community